shot from Goldsworthy.
What a comeback that is! Got him.
And taken. They are very much in this, the Foxes. They are fighting hard.
Brilliant shot from Goldsworthy.
What a comeback that is! Got him.
And taken. They are very much in this, the Foxes. They are fighting hard.
You know, that's what Ben is aware of.
And a round of applause for number 23 is Lewis Hill. Number 7 for the Leicestershire Foxes is Ben Cox.
Well, you know, not yet. I mean, it was just the one knock, but what he's done brilliantly this season is score a lot of runs going in, sort of at 5, 6s, 7, some around that sort of level. And he's been incredibly consistent with the red ball. He's talked a lot about coming to Leicestershire and having new eyes look at his technique and things like that. He's obviously he was at Worcester for a long time, was very much associated with them and had a lot of success with Worcester down at New Road, and it was a big decision for him to come to Leicester, but it's done his cricket now. I think the winter in particular did him a lot of good in terms of sort of stepping back, having different people look at what he was doing and working on little sort of bits and pieces of technique, and he's looked a much better player, you know, this season, a much more reliable player, if you like. He's not a big hitter, never will be, I don't think, but he's very, very effective at sort of keeping the scoreboard ticking over, and you need that sort of player. So, yeah, he's in a good place, Ben, at the moment, and it's good to see.
And your Durham team this evening. Returning to Leicestershire is Colin Ackerman. Lining up also for Durham, Casey Aldridge. Graham Clark. Zach Folks. And your captain, Alex Lees. Also representing Durham, Jimmy Neesham. And a warm Leicestershire welcome returning, Callum Parkinson. Another former Fox returning this evening, Ben Rain. And for Durham this evening, Will Rhodes. Ollie Robinson.
How long is this, guys?
Sauter. Your umpires are Rob Bailey and Steve O'Shaughnessy.
Oof. Okay, mate.
big round of applause.
Hello from the Uptonsteel County Ground, Grace Road. You're most welcome to join us here. Fans of Leicestershire and Durham, and neutrals as well. We have a slightly grey evening. Cloud is broken above, but there should be plenty of sun around, but critically no threat of rain. Threat of Ben rain, potentially. Going to be bowling for Durham, the former Fox, one of 4 former Leicestershire players in the Durham side, 2 former Durham players in the Leicestershire side. So when I got here around 4 o'clock, there was a lot of catching up going on between the 2 sides. Durham in sort of daffodil yellow with a blue, I think it's a lion, motif around the shirt, and navy trousers. Leicestershire in fairly traditional green trousers, but a wonderful new design on the shirt of a fox's head. It's very bright and rather appreciated, I think, by the players and some in the crowd who are wearing it. As Connor told you, Durham won the toss and have chosen to bowl first. Alex Lees said he thought the wicket looked pretty good, and also looking back through games played on this pitch in the past, it's usually played pretty well. Rishi Patel is going to face the first ball, and it's going to be Zach Fawkes who's going to bowl it from the Bennett end. His 2 men out are at deep square and backward point. That is a sort of traditional thing now, really. And we have the rope quite a long way in from the straight, so it is a short straight boundary here. It's a big ground, as those who know Grace Road will attest, but as I say, they brought the rope in for this one, so it is a short straight boundary. Lots of consultation still going on between Messrs Fawkes and Lees. He wants some sawdust bringing on. Zach Fawkes, we've had a fair amount of rain in the East Midlands in recent days, and indeed we had a few heavy showers this morning, so it is a little bit greasy out there. And, well, the groundsman has gone running back to the hut, so Fawkes is going to get on with it anyway. Good on him. Down the slope he comes and bowls to Rishi Patel, who clips him away through mid-wicket. It was a fullish straight delivery, worked out towards deep mid-wicket. Well, it looked like there were going to be 2 in it. Throw was a decent one, and it did have the wicket-keeper backpedaling slightly. However, he's made his ground, and it was just the single. They didn't take the chance in the end. Patel off the mark. He's been a little bit hit and miss in both the county championship and in the T20 recently, Rishi, so he's in need of a decent score. Just the 34 runs in the 3 innings in which he's played so far in this competition. Fawkes is going to go round the wicket to the left-handed Budinger. In he comes and bowls with a slip. He's bowled him. He's gone straight through him. Absolutely straight through him. Hit the top of off. So just held its own off the seam, and there was such a little reaction really from the players, but that was an absolute jaffer, it looked like, from Fawkes, and went through Budinger, who was pretty much on the back foot. Clipped the top of off. He wasn't trying to hit it hard or anything. No, it came back a little bit from outside off, hit the top of off. Beautiful delivery. And, well, what a start from Zach Fawkes. So Budinger's been in good touch in this competition, indeed in the county championship as well for Leicestershire. But that is a real blow struck early by Fawkes. And Leicestershire are 1 for 1. Well, they've been in worse positions in the T20 already this season. They were 38 for 7, I think it was, after the power play against Northamptonshire, a game which Durham supporters won't be surprised to hear that they went on to lose, although they did make a fist of it, took it to the last over in the end, thanks mainly The likes of Logan van Beek and Roman Walker managing to get some sort of score together. But they won't want to be in that sort of position again. But that was a super delivery from the relatively diminutive Folkes, who looks down at the ball. And Leicestershire captain in this competition, Louis Kimber, is at the crease already. Folkes is in, bowls to him, fullish. He does come back a little bit, and Lees, who's gone in at slip, hands went into the air there. It came off a thick inside part of Kimber's bat as he worked it out towards mid-on. Looks to be a little bit of something in the pitch early on. Good though it may look as well, it does have greenish tinges to it. Ollie Robinson is waving at his mid-off to go a little bit wide, a little bit straighter actually, a little bit straighter he says, as Folkes goes in and bowls to Kimber outside off stump. Kimber lets that one go through. Taking care, Jimmy Neesham it is at slip, Lees as ever at mid-off. Neesham has had the one season with Leicestershire in this competition. Was occasionally effective, but I think he probably wasn't quite as consistent as he would have liked to have been. Folkes is in and bowls, clipped away through mid-wicket by Kimber as that came back in and full. It might not have the legs to go all the way. Good sliding stop out there running back from mid-on. A little bit of relay fielding. And Kimber has to settle for 3. Floodlights coming on already. The first chant of Leicestershire. La la la. So wasn't completely convincing from Louis Kimber, but he got plenty of it. And it was a decent chase by the fielder, and he did save a single. Ben Rain is being sent back to long leg now for Rishi Patel, which means that backward point has come into the circle. In goes Folkes, bowls, and backward point. Oh, it bounces past him. Should have stopped that one fairly simply, Casey Aldridge. It bounced up quite comfortably. It looked to be a good height for him to stop it. He wasn't able to do so. Bounced through his hands and went back a few yards, and as a consequence, Patel able to pick up 1. So mixed fortunes for the Foxes in the first over. Durham will be quite happy with a score of 5 for 1 after 1. The man out, Sol Budinger, cleaned up by Zach Folkes. 5 for 1. And our old friend Callum Parkinson is going to open the bowling for Durham from the pavilion end. He is very familiar with what is required. Just a very slight slope up from the pavilion end, up which he has trodden many a time. Callum, good to see him back in playing first team cricket again, really. In he goes and bowls to Patel onto leg stump, worked out towards mid-wicket, comfortable single taken. Kimber was running to the danger end, but he responded immediately. Graham Clark onto the ball reasonably quickly from just backward of square. But as I say, a fairly straightforward run. 3 apiece now to Patel and Kimber. 6 for 1 as Parkinson is in and bowls. Nice loop to it, but stroked back past him by Louis Kimber, who lopes down, following the ball, so to speak, as it runs down towards long off. 1 is taken. Jim Neesham even down there. Parkinson looks to have straightened his run since I last saw him. Almost in-out as he goes in and bowls to Patel, who clips it straight back towards him. He falls to his right, gets a good hand on it, but isn't able to stop it, and it runs on down towards long on. Will Rhodes down there. So another single taken. Parkinson is in. Kimber backs away. Ball follows him slightly, plays it firmly down into the pitch off the back foot, but only as far as Lees at a short-ish extra cover. Parkinson is in. Quicker delivery, turned out to mid-wicket. It was onto the legs of Kimber. He's looking for a possibility of a second, but once again, fielder Aldridge quickly onto it, and it is just 1. The electronic scoreboards, it's lost a sort of section so to speak. So although they're running it, we are having to look towards the manual scoreboard. Well bowled by Parkinson there, beat Patel in the flight, drew him forward and he poked it slightly unconvincingly out into the offside off the upper part of the bat. So just the 4 runs from that opening over from Parkinson, and after 2 overs the Foxes are 9 for 1. Not sure there was too much turn there for Callum, but there was certainly seam movement for Zach Folkes in the first. And he'll be looking for the same again because he's staying on from the Bennett end. Ground beginning to fill up as people drift in after work. Folkes is in, bowls and hit back through long on by Louis Kimber for 4. Nice shot by Kimber. It was slightly overpitched. He got onto the front foot, on drove. Sounded a fraction tinny off the bat, but he actually got plenty of it, Louis Kimber. And he picks up 4. First 4 of the game. Kimber on to 9. Made a very good 40 off just 21 balls at Old Trafford on Wednesday. Folkes is in, bowls to him, it's short and it's pulled off the glove down the leg side, and he'll feel he missed out a little bit there, Louis Kimber. Ollie Robinson did well, falling to his left and made the stop one-handed. Saved, well, probably saved 4 to be quite honest. It wasn't going particularly quickly. That said, Ben Rain is up on the edge of the circle at short fine leg and he would not have chased that down the slight slope that we have here at the Uptonsteel County Ground. Darkish cloud around at the moment as Folkes is in, bowls to Kimber, who tries to hit him away through the onside. Doesn't get anything on it, came off the pad, I'm pretty sure. Umpire O'Shaughnessy raises his right knee to the score as the leg bite is taken, bounced out towards sort of backward point area. Hit to Kimber well outside off stump, he stepped right across. Oh, it's high as well. A little bit of movement continuing though for Folkes, back in on that occasion. Patel on strike now on 4. Folkes is in, bowls to him. Oh, and he really didn't get hold of that one at all. Hit it back past the bowler who stuck out a left hand. I suppose a taller bowler might just have been able to get his fingers on that. Went past him around about shoulder height, but it hit very high up on the bat and he really clothed it there, Rishi Patel, but he's got away with it. He moves on to 5, 15 for 1. Folkes turns, got a straight run. In, bowls and square driven away to the point boundary, and it is for 4. Casey Aldridge scampered up the ropes and dived, slid almost, couldn't get there, but they timed that one really nicely, Louis Kimber, not for the first time this evening, and he's beginning to look as though he's found a little bit of form. Moves on to 13 with that second boundary. Folkes, the Australian, turns. Runs into, finishes over and bowls very full, almost a half volley. Well, was a half volley really, and Kimber raises his eyes to the heavens because although he hit it quite firmly, he managed to pick out the man at point on the edge of the circle, and a couple of yards either side, and that would most certainly have been 4. As it is, it went more or less straight to Nathan Souter. Got away with that one, Folkes, and Kimber will feel he did as well. 19 for 1. After 3, so 10 off the over. Better for the Foxes. It could have been more actually. A couple of deliveries, that one that Ollie Robinson stopped going down the leg side, and that one that went straight to Souter. Kimber might feel he should have got at least one of them away. But Jimmy Neesham is going to have a bowl now. Again, he'll be not as familiar as Callum Parkinson, but reasonably familiar with the requirements here. Five wickets in the first 2 games for Jimmy Neesham. An average of 13. He's conceded 65 runs from the 8 overs he's bowled. He's bowled his full allocation in both. 1 win, 1 very narrow defeat. Economy rate is over 8s though. Can be a touch expensive, was our experience with him. Big number 50 on his back as he runs into bowl to Rishi Patel. It's a little bit short. Patel pulls him over mid-wicket and it's for 6. The rope is in quite short, relatively short for this particular grounder all the way round, but particularly straight, but even at mid-wicket. That had enough on it from Patel to clear the ropes. It's probably about 60 yards out there, 65, something like that. So it's probably the longest boundary. But Patel still had enough on it, so he goes into double figures now on to 11. Neesham is in and bowls better length, but he's going to pick up possibly 2, maybe 1. No, it will be 2 as he went for the drive. Bit of a thick outside edge. It was in the air for a while. It got past Ben Waine at short third, but the man out on the backward point boundary able to run up and make the stop inside the ropes. So just the 2 to Patel. So 8 from the first 2 deliveries of the Neesham over. Yeah. Uptonsteel stand, aka the Stenchen Benno stand, looks fairly well populated already. As Neesham is in, slower ball, Patel sees it, picks it, waits for it, dabs the ball out through backward point and takes a single. 9 off the first 3 balls of the over. 14 to Patel, 13 to Kimber. Leicestershire 1-2, lost 1. Lost at Northampton, but did beat Lancashire at Old Trafford last time out, having started with a win over Derbyshire in their first game. Neesham is in and bowling short and didn't really come on to Kimber, but somehow he's muscled it down to the long off boundary. Neesham stands there with his chin in his hand. He can't quite believe that's happened, and he gives Kimber a little bit of a grin. I'm not sure how Kimber managed to do that. It was almost a one-handed shot. It certainly wasn't where he was looking to hit it. He was trying to hit it over somewhere, I think over mid-wicket, and it didn't quite come on to him. So really that was a sort of moral victory for Neesham. It may just have held it back a bit. And somehow Kimber got it straight enough through mid-off for it to run down the slope for 4. There's a lot of runs on this ground there for the taking. Neesham is in, bowls to him. He's hit that too long on just over mid-on, who runs back and can't actually chase the ball down in the end. Well, it looked as though he was going to be in with a chance of getting there for the catch, Zach, folks. It landed just over his head as he turned and chased back, but then it gathered a little bit of momentum down that slight slope, and folks scrambling after it got there but couldn't quite drag it back. It is, as I say, I'll keep saying it, probably bore you in the end, but it is a very short straight boundary. The runs are flowing now for these two. Kimber on to 21. Neesham is in, bowls to him. Kimber steps back, tries to loft it high somewhere in our direction on top of the pavilion. Kimber doesn't get anything on it because Neesham sees him backing away, stepping away to the leg side, and directs the delivery just outside off stump, and Kimber can't get there. Even so, a productive over as far as the Foxes were concerned. 17 from it. And the score, therefore, has moved on to 36 for 1 after 4. Change of bowling as Patel, lofts that one fullish from outside off stump. One bounce, lovely shot, arguably the shot of the day so far. It was in the slot, really, from Casey Aldridge, tall right-hander. And with mid-off up on the edge of the circle, Patel just stepped forward and off-drove it high over mid-off, almost to the boundary for 6. Patel on to 18 from 10. Runs after that first over beginning to flow now. Aldridge is in, bowls, and this time hits straight, and that is 4 as well. Just for a moment it looked as though mid-on might be in the game. I think it's Ackers out there, it is. And he dived across to his left, reaching left hand, couldn't get there. And Patel picks up consecutive 4s. Well, 17 off the 4th over, and we've already had 8 of the first 2 balls of the 5th. Ackers manages to retrieve the ball from in front of the black sight screen over there, in front of the Turner Indoor Centre, underneath the press box. Aldridge, tall, right-handed seamer, is in and bowls, and he's really got hold of that one, Rishi Patel. That has gone all the way onto the top of the marquee as the denizens therein scatter. And I think that would have been a 6 wherever the rope had been. It certainly would, because it landed on the roof of the marquee. So Aldridge is bowling length, and that is not the place to bowl to Rishi Patel at the moment. He just gave himself a bit of room. He tried to follow him a little bit, but he ended up really just again putting it in the perfect position for Patel to loft it high over long on for another 6. Patel 28 off 12. Aldridge is in, bowls to him. He sliced that one a little bit, but it's going to be safe. It lands over extra cover, takes a little bit of an extra bounce, but it is going to be dragged back by Alex Lees, and Patel has to settle for 2. So 4, 4, 6 and 2 from the over so far. Patel 30 off 13, 50 up for Leicestershire in the 5th over. And given they were 9 for 1 after 2, that represents a decent acceleration from the batting side's point of view. Aldridge is in to Patel, who pulls him. He dropped it short. It's going to land short. Oh, it didn't land short. It's just a really, really poor attempt at a catch, really, relatively speaking, by Jimmy Neesham out there. It looked as though he'd seen it all the way into his hands, but because he stopped, basically, and then just moved towards it, tried to take it very low and spilt it. So, goes down as a chance. A misjudgment on the part of Jimmy Neesham. Patel on to 31. Aldridge is in, bowls very straight, and that is another 6 because it was full and straight. And this time it was Kimber who hit it straight and flat. Umpires waiting for the signal, but it was unquestionably 6. He turns to the scorers, Steve O'Shaughnessy, and raises both hands into the air. So, well, 17 off the 4th over, but 23 off the 5th. Kimber on to 27, Patel on to 31. Well, first wicket fell with just 1 on the board. Since then, Kimber and Patel have put the Durham attack to the sword. Zach Folks, who bowled a couple of... Well, the first over was a good one. The second was a little bit more expensive. It wasn't too bad. He's going to bowl his 3rd from the pavilion end. In he comes, bowls to Patel. Slower ball, hit straight, and that will be a 1 bounce for... Very straight. There was long on posted. He sprinted along the ropes with a reaching left hand. Couldn't get there. Nathan Souter. It looked like he might be able to stop it, but Patel hit it just too straight. He moves on to 35 off 15. This is somersault from Patel and Kimber. In goes Folks and bowls. That's a better delivery, and it's rather skewed out towards wide-ish long gone. Souter runs into field. Patel picks up 1. Got plenty of it, but it was rather thick inside part of the bat. Durham quiet at the moment in the field. The crowd beginning to liven up. It's quite chilly out there at the moment as Folks is in and bowls slower ball onto the legs of Kimber, who just tries to work it down to the leg side. Parkinson runs across and feels. He didn't get anything on it. Kimber came off the thigh pad, so decent delivery, decent slower ball from Folks. Brings Patel down on strike, and Folks sends his square leg out to the backward square boundary. The other man out is, he says, looking round at mid-wicket. They clearly think that those are Patel's scoring areas. Now, whether that means he'll also drop short because he's got some cover out there remains to be seen. Folks kicks up his heels, runs away from us and bowls down the leg side. That'll be signalled wide, or did it flick the pad? And there's a little tap of his right leg from umpire Rob Bailey, which suggests that it just flicked the pad and means that Zach Folkes isn't going to have to bowl that delivery again. 65 for 1. Coming towards the end of the power play, just 2 balls left in it. Leicestershire would certainly have settled for this at 9 for 1 after 2. Folkes is in to Patel. Slower ball hit in the air, should be caught, is at mid-off by Alex Lees. Just hit straight into his midriff, really. It was a... Be disappointed about that, Rishi Patel. It was a good innings, 36 off 17, but it was a rather tame ending in the circumstances. Again, it was a nicely held back slower ball from Folkes, and Patel just plonked it, essentially, as he reached across straight into the midriff of Lees, who was never going to drop that one. 65 for 2, Patel goes for 36. But a decent start given to the innings by the Leicestershire opener, who, as I say, had been struggling a little bit for runs in the competition up to this point. 34, so he's more than doubled that. He's now got 17 for innings. Not great by his standards, but at a good strike rate in particular. 36 off, came off 18 deliveries. Smiles from Lees and Folkes. 2 for 19, Folkes now from his 2.5 overs. Shan Masood comes to the crease, the Pakistan international captain, or former captain, we should say now. Classy left-hander. Played a very important part in the win over Derbyshire. Folkes is going to go round the wicket to him. He steps forward and drives, but carefully controlled shot, bounces down and is stopped by Folkes in his follow-through. So in the end, he came back in that over reasonably well. Indeed, just the 6 runs from it in the end, and a wicket. So Zach Folkes has come out of that power play, which was quite an expensive one, 65 for 2, I should say, after 6, with relatively decent figures of 2 for 19 from his 3 overs. Just shows how expensive Neesham and Aldridge were, because Parkinson bowled his over for just 4 runs as well. Just that 4th over, which went for 17, and the 5th, which went for 23, which did all the damage. So Souter, as Durham turned to spin, well, they've already turned to spin in the form of Parky, of course, but Nathan Souter has taken a lot of wickets against Leicester in this competition in the past. Well, he's not going to take wickets with full tosses like that, and that is wiped over mid-wicket for 6 by Louis Kimber. Well, I gave him a bit of a build-up there. Nathan Souter kicks at the turf in disappointment, but that was an absolutely rank full toss, and without a, well, mid-wicket quite wide at any rate, Louis Kimber was not going to miss out on that. He smacked it away almost dismissively for 6. He moves on to 33. Off just 17 deliveries, Souter is in, bowls to him, almost goes through him there. That was foolish, and it was rather squeezed out. Might just have turned a touch. Out down towards short third man on the edge of the circle. Callum there made the stop. Kimber picks up a single. Shan Masood does a little dance, gets himself warm, looks around as the field is changed, because obviously he's left-handed. So 3 men out on the leg side, 2 on the off as Souter is in, bowls. Masood just leans forward and clips it calmly through the vacant mid-on area down towards long gone. Neesham it is out there, I think. Takes his single. Gets off the mark. Slightly open stance for Louis Kimber. Souter is in, bowls to him. He slaps it away through the offside, through a roundabout extra cover, out to the fielder on the cover boundary. Takes one. Casey Aldridge it is out there. Kimber on to 35, 74 for 2 in the 7th. Souter bowls. Masood is forward. He's might have been the googly because it looked to come off a bit of a leading edge, that one. The batters have got their backs to us and are obscuring the deliveries. It went through the vacant mid-off area and Masood picks up one. Souter is in. Kimber hits massively over wide-ish mid-wicket for a huge six that's gone all the way into the Stadia Utilities stand, miles beyond the rope. He just went down on one knee. He's a hugely powerful hitter and just clobbered it. It sat nicely up for him in the slot. Went down on one knee and absolutely middled it. And it went to the back seats of that stand over there. As I say, no matter where the rope was. Gentleman in a black hoodie manages to retrieve the ball. He probably didn't think he was going to be in too much danger over there. A good 80, 90 yards from the bat. But Kimber, as I say, is a big hitter. It has moved on to 41 off 20, which was pretty much what he got against Lancashire. And in the end, that was a useful over for the Foxes. 16 from it. Our old friend Ben Rain now is going to go up the slope from the pavilion end. He's been shorn in terms of his hair for a fair few years, Rainey, but it looks a little bit of grey peeking out there now. In he goes and bowls slowly to, relatively slowly, to Shan Masood, just waited for it and turned it out through mid-wicket. Sunderland born, of course, Ben Rain. He it was who came up with the Foxes sort of winning song. He used to lead it anyway. Didn't sing it very often, I have to say, for Rainey in his time at Leicestershire. They were tough years for the Foxes. This, not so tough so far. Rain back over the wicket to the right-handed Kimber, who drives hard down into the ground, bounces nicely for short extra. Lees to make the stop. Such a canny bowler in every sense of the word, Ben Rain. It's been brilliant for Durham since moving up there for his home county. He was brilliant for Leicestershire and he's been brilliant for Durham, particularly with the ball. In he goes and bowls outside off stump and pulled around the corner somehow. Came off a thick bottom edge from Kimber, who wasn't quite sure where it had gone. It actually was running too square leg. Callum Parkinson ran across the field. But I know Ben credits sort of his time at Leicestershire with making him into the cricketer he became, really, because he was a batsman when he left Durham for the first time and came to Leicestershire, and it was they who made him into very much an all-rounder. Around the wicket he bowls to Shan Masood, fullish on leg stump, just clipped down to deep square. Graham Clark down there, the Cumbrian. One is taken, working it around now. These two. And I think it's Dips Patel who sort of the Leicestershire second team coach on the coaching staff for a long time now. Dips, who Rainey gives a lot of the credit for making him into a bowler. In he goes and bowls to Kimber, who drives from outside off stump out towards wide-ish. Long off, has to move around there to field, and he thought about a second, didn't take on the arm of Will Rhodes in the end. Rain back round to Masood. Bowls a little bit short. Masood just leans forward and turns his wrists on it, works it through mid-on down towards Rhodes again, who throws on the bounce to Robinson, and one is taken. So a very respectable opening over for Ben Rain. 5 singles from it. 86 for 2 Leicestershire after 8. Suggested to Connor beforehand it looked like a sort of 180 plus pitch, and it does, because the slower ball works as a slower ball, but it's not sticking in the pitch at all. So I think they might be looking for more really than 86. Parkinson is in from the Bennett end. Down the pitch goes Masood and drives out to long off for 1.
Richard, thank you very much for now. You'll have a choice of listening right now on BBC Radio Leicester. Leicestershire 87 for 2 under grey, gloomy skies here at Grace Road. If you want to carry on listening to this match, as the ball is tossed away into the leg side for 6, then you'll be able to do so. You need to retune your radio though to DAB, the BBC Sport website and app. But right now on FM, you're in the delight of your Friday evening with Letitia George.
Thank you, Connor. Another huge blow from Louis Kimber. Takes him on to 49 already. Parkinson is in to him, and that's the captain's half century. It's come off just 25 balls as he strokes it out into the offside for a single out towards extra cover. Well, mentioned again in the preamble that it was important it would be important for the captain to go big tonight, and he has already, and he's done it at a heck of a rate as well. 50 off 25. Parkinson is in to Masood, just goes back and turns it out towards deep mid-wicket, jogs the single. Masood has hit every ball he's faced for 1 other than his first so far. 7 off 8 to him, 94 for 2. Now the Foxes score. Parkinson is in. Kimber again with that sort of slap drive almost out into the deep extra cover area. Busy out there is Casey Aldridge, gets his throw away. Just a single is taken. Parkinson over the wicket to Masood, goes back, works it around the corner, takes the first one quickly just in case, but never really was going to be more than 1 in it because Zach Folkes had got around the boundary quickly. And again, just the single to Masood. So 96 for 2 with that 6 off the first ball. 10 off the over from Callum Parkinson. 9 overs gone, 96 for 2. They will certainly be targeting 200, you would think, now as a minimum, the Foxes. And however good the pitch is, under those circumstances, 10 and over is never that easy to chase down. Jimmy Neesham, after a rather expensive first over, 17 came from it. He's going to get a chance to redeem himself to some extent from the pavilion end. He's going to be bowling to Shan Masood. Everybody on the leg side in front of the bat on the boundary, i.e. 3 fielders. Short fine is up on the edge of the circle, but there's also a third man and a deep cover. Neesham is in, drops short, clubbed by Masood. Wasn't quite short enough for him to really pull. Hit it fairly straight out towards the long gone boundary where Will Rhodes, his fielding, comes in about 10 yards from the ropes and fields. And the single is taken. Masood on to 9, 98 for 2. When the sun was out, it was really gloriously warm, but it is now distinctly chilly down here in the East Midlands as Neesham runs away from us, very straight, bowls, slightly short, clubbed by Kimber. He's clothed it though straight to long on, and a very, very simple catch for Rhodes is taken. Made it look very straightforward indeed. Beg your pardon. It's Casey Aldridge down there. Will Rhodes on the other side, but Aldridge always in control. Took it in the Australian way with both hands pointing up, but Kimber's 50, no more than that in the end. 51 off 26 balls for Louis Kimber. He'll be disappointed that he wasn't able to go on, but he, once again, as he did at Old Trafford on Wednesday, he's given his side a foundation to go on. But he's such a destructive player that he will, and Leicestershire will be disappointed, because, you know, 80 or 40 is a big deal in T20 cricket. But he gets a lot of applause, Louis Kimber, as he keeps his eyes firmly to the ground. He's disappointed he got out there. You can tell he hasn't raised his bat to the crowd in particular. But Neesham strikes back, picks up a wicket in his second over, and it's that of Louis Kimber. Will that change Leicestershire's approach? Well, Lewis Hill is a sort of busy batsman at the crease, but he's not a big hitter. They'll be looking to push it around for the ones and the twos initially anyway. Neesham is in, bowls to Hill, who cuts. It was a slower ball out to the fielder on the point boundary. Takes one. Nice flat throw. Hill off the mark straight away. Masood will have to take a little bit more of the initiative while Hill plays himself in. Not that you get any time at all to play yourself in this form of the game. But just two from the first three balls of Neesham's second over, and the wicket, of course. In he comes, bowls to Masood, outside off stump, beautifully stroked away, but straight to the man on the cover boundary.
And that's 100 up for Leicestershire.
It was Nathan Souter. As you heard, the confirmation of the 100 up for the Foxes in the 10th over, but with 3 wickets down. Can they double their score? They do bat very deep. It's been more than useful in the county championship. Also in the T20 possibly. Neesham bowls down the leg side, and that will be signalled wide because Lewis Hill didn't get anything on it. Tried to help it on down too fine leg. Didn't get anything on it. Neesham turned in disappointment, raised his eyes to the heavens. Cross with himself. Good over up to that point. But it is just the single. On to the Leicestershire score. Hill 1, Masood 10. Neesham turns, runs in and bowls outside off stump, cut very nicely by Hill to the backward point boundary for 4. Just gave Hill enough width. Neesham should know Lewis Hill, though Hill wasn't playing much T20 last season, so maybe isn't too familiar with Lewis Hill actually. And Hill loves a cut. Fastened on that one quickly, picks up 4, moves on to 5, 105 for 3. 9 off the first 5 balls of the over, including the wide. Neesham is in again, width, and again Hill cuts, but it was a slower ball, so he had to wait for it and wasn't quite able to use the pace as he did previously. Fielder on the point boundary able to make this stop. Hill picks up 1, he moves on to 6, 10 off the over then, halfway point. Leicestershire 106 for 3. I think they'll be reasonably happy with that as the basis for going on. Neesham 1 for 26 off 2. Looks like Casey Aldridge is going to replace Callum Parkinson at the Bennett end. Again, fielders on the leg side, all out on the boundary, bar mid on, so 3 men out and 2 on the off side as Aldridge is in, bowls to Hill down the leg side, helped on its way down to fine leg 4-4. Really nice. Well, it was helped on its way, but by his thigh pad. It looked like he'd got a little tickle on that, Lewis Hill, and it was fine enough for Robinson to dive across to his left. Wasn't able to make the stop, might just have brushed the ends of his fingers. But Aldridge just straying down the leg side, and no chance at all for Rain at long leg to get across and cut it off. Aldridge is in again to Hill, again down the leg side, and that will be signalled wide. So Aldridge not making the start he wanted, I'm sure, to this over. 1 legitimate delivery, 5 runs already from it. 111 as a consequence for 3 Leicestershire. The Guinness bar away to our left, which has replaced the Geary bar. In goes Aldridge and bowls. Hill clips him in the air out towards deep mid-wicket, bounces twice before reaching the fielder. Good throw though, so it is just a single to Lewis Hill. I don't know whether that's just for this competition or whether that is going to stay. It was named after George Geary, a famous Leicestershire player of the past. It was the Geary stand for many years. One of the idiosyncratic, shall we say, little stands that are around Grace Road, around the Uptonsteel ground, as Aldridge is in to Masood, who times it beautifully away off his legs out towards deep mid-wicket. But again, it's going to be just 1, so I think he's on 11 singles, Shan Masood, off 12 deliveries faced. No, well, it's not a stand. No building's more idiosyncratic than the meet, of course. Looking away to our right from the pavilion with that odd roof. In goes Aldridge, bowls 2. Hill, who drives and drives for 4. There's no chance from long off to run across, or mid off to run across towards deep extra cover and cut that off. One of the ground staff does the honours. Nice shot from Lewis Hill, just width from Aldridge again. And well, they're not dragging this rate back particularly. He's got came into the match with an economy rate of 8, Casey Aldridge, but he's proving a little bit more expensive this time round. 30 off his first 1.4 as Hill turns that one off his hip out towards square leg. He takes the first one quickly, but the outfield with the little bit of rain on it, if anything, has made it even quicker. It's sort of greasy almost slightly, and it really scurried on its way towards Clark and just the one possible. Hill on to 12, 118 for 3. Aldridge 31 off 1.5 overs. Turns, runs in, bowls 2. Masood, who drives out towards mid-off, who is on the edge of the circle, so always going to be one there. Akers quickly onto it, but not sufficiently so to prevent Masood taking his single, which you can basically assume he's going to do off every ball, it seems. So 11 overs done, 119 for 3 Leicestershire. This obviously just Durham's 3rd game, Leicestershire's 4th. So averages don't mean too much, but Neesham, the top wicket taker, with 5 coming into the game. Rainey, who's back on, Ben Rain that is, has 3. In he goes, bowls round the wicket and goes for the big hit there. Shan Masood, thick bottom edge that sees the ball run out towards deep backwards square, so certainly not at all where he was looking to hit it, which was over mid-wicket. Ran down towards backwards square. Masood takes 1, but this time he wasn't trying to take 1, he was trying to take 6. Definitely didn't middle that one. Shan, he moves on to 13. For those not aware, he does have local connections, Shan Masood. He went to school at Stamford, about 32, 33 miles away from Leicester, away to the east. As in goes Rain and bowls 2. Lewis Hill, thick bottom edge, just past leg stump, well, not just past, about 6 inches past, runs down towards long leg, and 1 is taken. Very old friends, Ben Rain and Lewis Hill. Hill on to 13, same as Shan Masood. Stamford also responsible for producing Josh Hull, and indeed Zach Chappell, now at Derbyshire. Rain round the wicket, bowls 2. Masood, who drives in the air, but wide of deep extra cover. Could be 2 this time, and it will be 2 this time, as had a little bit of ground to make up to the ball there. Aldridge running away to his right. So Masood now has a runner ball, 15. 123 for 3. Robinson standing up to Rain, of course, as he goes in and bowls 2. Masood, who hits it up into the air. Mayland safe. No, Aldridge is going to get under it and takes a comfortable catch, two-handed, above his head. So didn't get hold of that one. He'd gone for a big hit earlier in the over he hadn't got hold of, and Ben Rain, as effective as ever, might just have held it back a little bit, might just have been a little bit of a seamer, but Masood trying to hit hard, trying to hit straight. Thick outside part of the bat went very high, but comfortable catch in the end, and Aldridge never looked like he was going to miss it. So another fledgling partnership comes to an end. Shan Masood goes for 15. Some polite applause. Second catch for Casey Aldridge, who also caught Kimber. Kimber got rather more of it than Masood. Rain 1 for 9 from 1.4 overs. Alex Lees has a word with his main man. Certainly with the red ball, but just as effective with white. Ben Rain brings Ben Cox to the crease, Leicestershire's wicket-keeper, formerly at Worcester, of course, but now his second full season at the Foxes, and it's been a very, very good season with both gloves and bat for Ben Cox so far. Rain is in, bowls to him, a little bit short of a length, but up on his toes. It's straight enough, and up on his toes, Cox just pushes it firmly out into the offside. Stopped falling to his right by the skipper, Alex Lees. He's got sort of elastic bandages on his both arms, Alex Lees, to protect his elbows. As Rain is in, bowls to Cox, who drives it past Lees out to, I think that's Souter out there on the point boundary. Oh, it's Ackers. Should be able to recognise Ackers now. It's lovely to hear that he and his missus have an expanding family. Twin baby boys, which is which will keep them busy the next few years, as in the next 30 years, but lovely to hear. Looked very happy indeed. Cox picks up one, end of the over, 124 for 4 after 12, so just 5 from that over, and the wicket. Souter is now coming back on at the Bennett end. Got rather clobbered by Kimber and Patel first time up. Conceded 16 from his first over. We're looking to do better second time round as he goes in and bowls to Ben Cox. Goes down the leg side slightly. Cox goes back. Doesn't try and overhit it. Just works it out to Clark at deep backward square and takes 1. This is what Cox has done well this season, really, both in red and white ball cricket. Certainly last time out he saw the Foxes over the line against Lancashire with a very good 38, was it, in the end? Not out, just to make sure that they didn't mess things up. Souter bowls and Hill advances down, tries to whip it away through mid-wicket. Might have been a little bit of inside edge as it thudded into the pads and just trickled back down the pitch to the leg spinner. Open stance at the end of his run, and then he goes in and bowls to Hill, who goes back and chops it away through the offside, wide of long off, and calls Cox. Well, Cox probably called him back for the second, but there were always likely to be 2. There was always likely to be 2 in that one because long off had a lot of ground to make up to get to the ball. Jimmy Neesham out there. Cox watches as Hill sweeps, gets a thin bottom edge, and that's going to run down to fine leg for 4. Well inside Ben Rain. Much finer of him. He's at short fine, but he's slightly wider than what a club player would understand as fine leg to be. It's almost a sort of long leg, short long leg. Sounds an odd thing to say. But he's a little bit wide, almost on the sort of 40-degree mark as Hill goes forward to that one, dabs it out into the offside. Looks inquiringly at Cox, and that was Cox shouting yes as he sprinted down the wicket, and Hill, as he made his ground at the far end, the bowlers then raised his hand in acknowledgement of the correctness of the call and that he should have gone straight away. 132 for 4 as Souter is in. Bowls just outside off stump, and Cox just pushes it firmly out into the offside. Lees, here of the elastic bandages, feels the Yorkshireman from Halifax. A substantial figure, Alex Lees. He always has been a solidly built lad. He's even more so these days. 132 for 4 after 13. So 8 from the over in the end. Probably take that just about. Souter and Durham, they would have liked to see him a wicket. Well, Neesham, he's really mixing it up, Lees, here. Folkes bowled 3 overs in the power play, including 2 consecutive ones, and I think Folkes is the only want to have bowled 2 consecutive overs in the innings so far. So Neesham to Hill, who's made a busy 20 off just 12 deliveries. Waits with bat raised as Neesham is in, bowls to him, a little bit short. Hill goes back, and nice piece of timing as he just pushes it firmly out into the leg side, out towards deep backward square, Souter Fields, and 1 is comfortably taken. Hill on to 21. Cameraman's very well wrapped up next to us, hoodies up. It's chilly out there, distinctly chilly. As Neesham turns, runs away from us and bowls. Again, slightly short, forced off the back foot by Cox, just wide of Lees. Ackerman has to run around. He doesn't do Robinson any favours with the throw, which lands almost at the wicketkeeper's feet, but Robinson makes the stop one way or another. Not cleanly, but it was, as I say, a horrible throw for a keeper to gather. Cox on to 3. Neesham singles from the first 2 balls. Runs in, bowls to Hill, and it was a foolish delivery. It was a slower ball though, and Hill will be disappointed with the result, which was that he sort of clothed it into the ground. It was there for the off drive, but he was in position too soon, had to try and adjust, and it all got a little bit ugly and sort of smeared it back down the pitch on the bounce to Jimmy Neesham. Neesham 1 up on Hill on that occasion. Now he sends his mid-off back to long off, which means that long leg has to come up. Callum Parkinson to short fine. Rhodes it is back at long off. Neesham is in, bowls a bouncer outside off stump. Hill steps across and tries to ramp it over the wicketkeeper, doesn't get anything on it, and Neesham perhaps a touch unlucky for it to be signalled wide, but I think it was a wide on height as much as width. Yeah, actually, he might look a little bit affronted, but he didn't have too much looking at the replay to look affronted about. In he goes, bowls again to Hill, slower ball down the leg side. Hill stepped across and again tried to help it down the leg side, and the wide is signalled. Now Hill did step across there, and Neesham looks really unhappy about that one being signalled wide, and umpire Bailey says, well, yeah, it wasn't just down leg side, it was a yard down leg side, and he actually makes the signal that it was a good distance down the leg side. Neesham again with less than gruntled, if not disgruntled. In he goes, bowls straight to Hill, little bit short, little bit slow though, deliberately so. Hill pulled it around the corner, but he had to wait for it. It was a well bowled really by Jimmy Neesham. Parkinson ran around to his left of field, and it was just a single in the end. So 137 for 4, just 5 off the first 4 balls, which is pretty decent given that 2 of them have been wides. Fairly or unfairly signalled by umpire Bailey. The first one definitely, and the second a little bit more arguable. Neesham is in and bowls. Foolish outside off stump, steered down into the ground by Cox. It bounces very nicely though for backward point to make the stop, which Clark does. Dot ball. A rare event in this innings. 137 for 4, coming to the end of the 14th. Neesham in, bowls outside off stump, conventional delivery, driven by Cox, but a good diving stop, falling away to his right by Alex Lees, keeps him in his crease. So that was a pretty good over in the end from Neesham. His 3 overs have gone for 31, which, as I say, considering his first went for 17, he's dragged his figures back to a certain extent. And the last 2 overs have been good, really, for Durham. Last 4, to be honest, have gone for 5, 8, 5, well, last 3. Callum Parkinson, 2 overs for 15, back on from the Bennett end. Bowls to Lewis Hill, who tries to sweep him over the mid-wicket boundary. Doesn't get anything on it, comes off the pad, and there is no run. He backed away, Hill. Parkinson followed him. Hill went for that sort of slog sweep. Didn't get anything on it. Parkinson is in, gives that one some air. Hill sweeps again, bottom edge. Didn't get all of it by any stretch of the imagination, and it ran fairly slowly towards short fine leg. Ben Rain able to make the stop, so boundary's not coming now for Leicestershire. The acceleration that they hoped for isn't coming. Parkinson is in. This time it's Cox sweeping out to deep backward square. Doesn't take the ball cleanly at the first attempt, Graham Clark, but he gets the ball away. Once he has picked it up, sufficiently quick to prevent any chance of a second, and in fairness, Cox hadn't run the first one quickly. Parkinson in to Hill, who sweeps in the air, but it's going to go over mid-wicket for 6. Actually got an awful lot more of that than I thought. The slog sweep came off beautifully for Hill there. Didn't sound very good off the bat, but that's sometimes a good thing when it doesn't make too much noise. And it flew high over mid-wicket towards the little sort of like hobbit hole entrances, the little shelters. Oh, I've just felt a spot of rain coming in through the window there. There's just a little bit of rain in the air at the moment. Parkinson into Hill, who drives it straight back to his old teammate. Cox throws himself back into his crease. 145 now for 4. It is just a few spots, and I don't think it's going to get any worse than that. Hill gets a fullish delivery from Parkinson, clips it out towards deep mid-wicket. Bit of work for Long on to run round to get to the ball. He does that work, though, successfully, and Hill has to settle for a couple. In the end, then 10 off the over, thanks to the 6. 25 off Parkinson's first 3 overs. 15 overs down, 147. For 4, they will certainly be targeting 200 here. Umpire Bailey on the walkie-talkie to the scorers. I wonder what that's about. Checking who's bowled how many overs, I suspect. Some umpires actually make a physical note, pen and pencil. Aldridge is back, 2 overs for 32, this time from the pavilion end. Bowls on off stump, slightly short of a length. Cox just stands up and plays it calmly out into the offside. Just slightly wide of Alex Lees at shortish extra cover, and takes his single. 5 off 9 for Ben Cox. The onus clearly on Lewis Hill at the moment to take the initiative, which he is, 31 off 20. As Aldridge is in, Hill steps across and pulls it out, slogs it out really out towards deep mid-wicket, and should make 2 comfortably enough. Does have to get the afterburners on to get there. The throw from Folkes came in, was a good one, but 2 comfortably enough taken in the end. He moves on to 33. 150 up for Leicestershire for 4. Aldridge tosses the ball from hand to hand. Tall man, Casey Aldridge. Runs away from us and bowls. Hill tries to, again, slog him over mid-wicket, thick bottom edge into the pad, sees the ball run out towards point, and the single is taken. Aldridge on loan, I think, from Somerset, but I understand the deal, whatever it is, may become a sort of permanent one. Tall right-handed seamer. Cox steps away because Will Rhodes at long off wasn't quite in position. He is now sporting a rather natty beard. Will Rhodes at the moment, beard and tash combo, as Aldridge is in. Slower ball to Cox, who hits long, and he hits straight, and he hits for 6. Stroked it out, really. Ben Cox. It wasn't a muscle shot in any stretch of the imagination. It was just a nice piece of timing, but with this short boundary, which I am sure the likes of Alex Lees will be eyeing with some relish. Cox made a fairly gentle off-drive, lofted off-drive into a 6. He moves on to 11. Aldridge is into him, drops short, pulled around the corner. Parkinson makes the stop in the end. Slightly misread it there, Callum. 2 hands together, then just had to realise he had to fall to his left, and he remains on one knee with a slightly sheepish grin on his face for a while. Just a single though, 2 Cox. It didn't cost anything. 158 for 4. Hill 34 of 22. Aldridge turns, runs in, bowls outside off stump, full toss, but he was following Hill, who slogged it out towards mid-wicket, off a little bit of an inside edge, didn't really time it at all, and in the end it was just the single. It does mean he keeps the strike though. Score moves on to 159, 12 from the over. Casey Aldridge has gone for 44 off his 3 overs so far, so he may or may not bowl one more. Neesham, as I say, has come back strongly though with the ball after conceding 17 from his first, is going to bowl out. He's going to have a 4th over, and it's going to be bowled from the Bennett end. Hill 35 off 23. Hilly's best score in T20 is. He hasn't played that much. Well, he has, because he was wicketkeeper in a lot of them, obviously, as well, but he tended to bat a little bit lower down the order. Neesham is in, bowls to Hill, who tries to reverse sweep, or reverse paddle it down to fine leg, steps across and tries to play the left-handed paddle down to fine leg, and doesn't, well, would be 3rd man for a right-hander. He tried to play it left-handed, didn't get anything on it. So another success for Jimmy Neesham, another dot ball as he turns, runs down the slope, bowls to Hill, who steps across. He follows him, bowls outside off stump. Hill slogs it out towards wideish long on. Cox, who is very quick between the wickets, had already turned for a second. Hill, he's not as young as he was, Hilly, but he's very fit still. But takes his time, having completed the 2nd run there. .61 now for 4. Neesham in to Hill. Slower ball, well bowled outside off stump. Hill tried to wipe it into the middle of next week, somewhere up Milligan Road. Missed. Bounced nicely through to Robinson. Always worth a little interaction with the crowd down there. The Extension Benno stand, the Uptonsteel stand, as Neesham is in to Hill. Another slower ball. Hill waited for it and managed to get it out towards mid-wicket and get it out for 4, amazingly, because the 2 fielders out there are fairly close to each other. They almost collided. It was Colin Ackerman who sort of went down on his knees to try and slide to his right to get to the ball, but Neesham, understandably, somewhat unimpressed. That wasn't great fielding. One or t'other should really have got there, but Hill managed just to bisect them perfectly and picks up 4. Moves into the 40s now, onto 41 off 27 balls. Neesham in to Hill. Another slower ball, but Hill's got hold of that one. That one he read and has hit it high into the stand, over the Guinness stand, very close to the manual scoreboard. Ashley might just have thumped into it. Ackerman gets the ball thrown back to him. In fact, it bounced off them and into the sort of hobbit hole, little hospitality, well, you can't really call them boxes, almost tunnels over there. But Hill moves on to 47. I suggested that Hill wasn't really a big hitter when he came in, but he's got hold of plenty in this innings. 47 off 28. He's making something of a point to me here, and to others, I suspect, Lewis Hill. As Neesham is in and bowls again to Hill, who Again, slightly slower ball, slightly short of a length, and Hill tried to pull it, didn't get anything on it, not for the first time in the over, and it bounced through to Robinson. So at end of the over, the two big hits, or the 6 and the 4 notwithstanding, only 12 from it, from Neesham, the 17th over. And he's finished with figures of 1 for 43 from 4 overs, which, as I say, after the first one went for 17, is not too shabby, really. Ben Rain, you would think, will bowl the last 2 overs from this Bennett end. 1 for 10 from 2 from his first 2. Still a little bit of rain I can see in the trees around the electronic scoreboard. The not quite complete electronic scoreboard. It's a sort of top part of it is just a bit, well, completely obscured. Rain is in, bowled down the leg side. Beautiful take by Robinson. Really smooth, but it will, of course, be signalled wide. Cox tried to sort of pull it down to wide long leg. Didn't get anything on it. Very smoothly taken by Ollie Robinson. Former Kent man, of course, Robinson. Very much a Durham man now. As rain is in and bowls, driven by Cox out towards mid-off. Forms the long barrier, knowing it was always going to be a single. Will Rhodes keeps hold of the ball, makes sure it stays dry and as much polish as he can get on it, which isn't very much on the white ball after 17 overs. Rain in again. Hill steps away. He follows in, but he's lofted it over square leg, but straight to deep backwards square, and the catch is taken. So Hill, anticipating perhaps that was going to go all the way, is disappointed not to get to his 50. But it was a really good knock from Lewis Hill. 47 off 29 deliveries for the former captain last year, of course, Lewis Hill. And that was a valuable contribution from him. His 47, as I say, came off 31 deliveries. Gets plenty of applause, Hilly, and he does raise his bat to the crowd. It's his best T20 knock for some little time. So, 2 overs and 4 balls remaining, 173 for 5. Can Leicestershire get to that 200 mark? Catcher, by the way, was Jimmy Neesham. Down there. Logan van Beek has come to the crease. Rain is in, bowls to the New Zealander. He and Cox almost collide as he clots it out to mid-wicket. He's going to have to take that second one quickly. The throw hits him and runs on down towards sort of third man area, but he'd run a long way past the crease there, Logan van Beek. But he was brave and did what you're supposed to do. He got sort of in between the ball and the stumps, running that way. Hopefully it hit a padded part. He's not rubbing anything. So he's off the mark with 2. Rain is in, bowls to him, slower ball. Again, he's clothed it, trying to pull it, and it's running slowly out towards mid-on. This time, they don't take on the arm of the fielder coming in from long on, and probably wisely so. Casey Aldridge has got a good arm. 176 for 5. Can Cox accelerate? 13 off 12 for Ben Cox as Ben Rain is in, bowls to him, outside off stump. It's sliced out into the offside. It could be caught and is caught. Rain picks up his 3rd wicket. And there are not many great celebrations out there among the Durham fielders. They all sort of clap hands politely. It's something rather old-fashioned about it all out there. No, 1 or 2 sort of high fives, but Ben Rain once again proving hugely effective with the ball in hand. Well, not just against Leicestershire, against any county, and that's his 3rd wicket. Cox goes for 13. 2 wickets in the over for our old friend. Colin Ackerman making no mistake. Another old friend with the catch. Liam Travaskis, who played really nicely in the few balls that he faced against Lancashire at Old Trafford. Saw Leicestershire over the line with time and to spare there, with some nicely swept fours. Can he do something similar here? They need him to. 176 for 6 now, I should say, as Rain coming to the end of his 3rd over. Just almost jogs in and bowls round the wicket. Back goes Travaskis, just works it out towards mid-wicket, and they're going to take on the 2nd, and they will make it as well. That is really good running. Rain fielded off his own bowling, running to mid-wicket, as 3 others converged on the ball, Will Rhodes and Colin Ackerman. It was Rain who got there first, but he was throwing on the turn, and it wasn't a particularly powerful throw, so Travaskis able to pick up 2. End of the 18th over, successful one for Ben Rain. 7 came from it, but he also picked up 2 wickets. Well, can they get their 22 runs off the last 2, Leicestershire, and get that psychologically daunting sort of 200 mark? They won't be particularly daunted. They know it's a good wicket to Durham, but Leicestershire, one of the advantages of bowling second is you can see what sort of bowling has worked, and it's taking the pace off the ball to a certain extent that has been most successful. Zach Folks to finish is in and bowls a full toss that is clipped away down to wide long leg for 4 by Logan van Beek. Well, got what it deserved, that one, from Zach Folks, who 3 overs, 2 for 19. It was a pretty decent return during the power play, but that's not a good start to the 1 over he's got left to bowl. .182 for 6. A bit of rain that was around seems to have stopped. I can see a little bit in the clouds above me, away over the electronic scoreboard, where it tends to come from here at the Uptonsteel County Ground. In goes Folks and bowls again, slower ball, which Van Beek tries to hit somewhere over the press box or over the hospitality marquee. Doesn't get anything on it. Taken by Robinson. Folks down the slope from the Bennett end is in and bowls, slower ball, but he follows Van Beek rather. He jams it back down the pitch, and Folks manages to make the stop off his own bowling, so that's consecutive dot balls for Zach Folks. A very good comeback after that first ball. Shocker, really. 2 for 23 off 3.3. 182 remains the score. Folks bowls short, and another dot ball. Good bouncer, which surprised Van Beek. He went for the hook. It was slightly wild, pirouetted a full 360 degrees. 1 for the over, says umpire O'Shaughnessy, having got this, had the signal from umpire Bailey. 3 dot balls. Zach Folks. Just put a few breaks on at the end of the innings here, Durham, as he goes in and bowls to Van Beek, who flashes it away to the backward point, almost wide 3rd man boundary for 4. Just the width there. He sort of slightly ran out of ideas, I suspect, Zach Folks said. 3 balls before were all different, but that was where Van Beek wanted it. Flashed it away backward of point for 4. So 4.4 takes the score on to 186. Folks is in, full toss that is hit towards long on, but clothed slightly, so it'll be just the single. So again, Folks has slightly got away with it. 9 off the over in the end. You'd probably take that in that stage of 19th over of the innings. Van Beek has moved on to 12. Travaskis, who's just faced the one ball, has 2 to his name. 187 for 6. So they would love to get that 200. Right man on strike, possibly Van Beek, but the right man as far as Durham is concerned to bowl it, as Ben Rain is in. Hit hard, straight back over his head, straight into the hands of Casey Aldridge, who once again makes no mistake at all. Hit that very hard, Logan Van Beek, very flat, head high to Casey Aldridge, who took the catch two-handed. Ben Rain commiserates with Logan Van Beek because Rain has picked up his 4th wicket against his former county. And Aldridge, his 3rd catch, and he hasn't looked like dropping any of them. That one was travelling, really was. The Somerset man, no mistake at all. Grins all round, congratulated by Will Rhodes there. Casey Aldridge. Tom Scriven has come in at number 9 to replace Logan Van Beek. Is Rainey going to get a 5-fer? This is the ground on which Colin Ackerman set the world record, remember, bowling for Leicestershire in T20 by picking up 7 wickets. Well, theoretically, no, he couldn't. Yes, he could. In he goes and bowls, and that is sliced away through point. So he won't be getting the 7, whatever happens, by Tom Scriven. He takes 2. Score moves on to 189. We could still get 7. He's got 4 balls left to bowl, Ben Rain. 3 wickets left to fall. Runs in and bowls, slower ball that's hit out towards wide-ish, long on. Aldridge this time fields on the bounce, and Travaskis has called Scriven back for a second, and there was 2 there, but Scriven had hesitated when he saw the ball in the hands of Aldridge and had to sprint up the other end and dive. It wasn't the greatest throw in the end, so the dive possibly a little bit unnecessary, but good call by Travaskis, making 1 into 2. Rain in again to Scriven. Down the wicket goes Scriven and then cloths it slightly, slogs it out towards mid-on. Travaskis calling for the second again. Good throw from Aldridge. No, slightly wide, and Robinson cleans it up really well. Lovely pair of hands on him, Ollie Robinson. But there was no chance for him taking the bails off. So 2 more to Scriven, who moves on to 6. 193 for 7. 2 balls to go. One of them's got to go to the boundary. Ideally 2 from Leicestershire's point of view. Rain is in. Slower ball to Scriven. Oh, almost bowls him as he misses it. Trying to hit it over deep mid-wicket and just misses off stump. 1 ball to go. 193 for 7. Looks a decent score. Will it be enough? It's a good pitch, as both the captains identified beforehand. Rain is in to Scriven. Another slower ball that he's going to be stumped. Yes, he is. And Rain has a 5-fer. Brilliant work, because he tried to hit into the ground, tried to hit it hard. It went down into the ground. He lost his footing, rather, Tom Scriven, as he came out of the ground. Now that is a stumping, I'm pretty sure, and that is a 5-fer for Ben Rain. Well bowled, our old friend. 8 down they finish in the end. Leicestershire 193 for 8. A good score, Connor, but not, you would say, necessarily the sort of score that would look necessarily a long way beyond Durham.
Because, Richard, this is certainly a batsman's pitch. How competitive of a score is that, do you think? I mean, we've got a game on, most certainly.
Yeah, it's a good score. I mean, it's obviously the highest score of the season so far, and it's plenty at which to bowl, but with the short boundaries, particularly the short straight boundaries, and the speed of the outfield, You know, there's no Ahmed as well, who's very effective in this game. Durham won't feel that they're out of it by any stretch of the imagination. It's not easy to score at 9.5 and over, plus. You know, and they have to go hard, but they'll fancy their chances.
Budinger went early. They were 1 for 1 very early on in that contest, Richard. I think they would have taken perhaps, were they 65 for 2, I think I've got written down here at the end of the power play.
Yeah, they were. I mean, that was given that they were just 9 runs after 2 overs. That, you know, that it was the overs 3, 4, and 5 were the big ones, particularly over 5 from Casey Aldridge, which went for 23 runs. And again, the importance of the captain, who's the cleanest and most powerful hitter on the side, no question. Him going to 50 was big, really, and I mentioned at the time he dragging himself off. He really fancied a sort of a 70 or 80, and that at T20, 70 or 80 is like 100. It's a game changer. So it didn't quite change the game, but it really did give them a lot of momentum.
And very finally then, Kimber went for 51. But once again, Richard, it's something that we've talked about time and time again, about this Leicestershire side batting really deep.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, everybody can bat these days, but it's interesting that they push Scriven that little bit higher this time. I had half a mind it would be Roman Walker, who does hit a long ball, but either he or Scriven, you know, in those circumstances, well, not much of a muchness. They're both good hitters, but they're both very effective batsmen. So, yeah, no, they do. Everybody bats.
Ben Rain has got 5 wickets for Durham this evening under gloomy, overcast skies here at Grace Road in the centre of Leicester. There's a few youngsters. Charlie Fox is also out there as well. The youngsters waving their flags as they parade around the boundary. The Foxes hitting 193. The away side need 194 runs to win this evening. You're listening to live T20 cricket here on BBC Radio Leicester with Richard Ray and me, Conor O'Grady. Elsewhere this evening in the netball, Loughborough Lightning hoping to return to winning ways after that shock defeat against their East Midlands rivals Nottingham Forest only 6 days ago. They're taking on the London Mavericks at the Sir David Wallace Arena. Now the third quarter has just got underway in the past few moments or so. Vic Burgess's side winning 45-29 as they hope to book themselves a home semi-final. So that's this evening, the cricket this evening. Tomorrow will be at Welford Road, a huge match for Michael Checker's Tigers. Premiership semi-final action returning to home turf for the first time since 2022. Of course, that season they went on to lift the Premiership title. Sale Sharks are Michael Checker's opponents. Now they do have a home semi-final, and I think if you look at the statistics, well, that certainly gives them a much greater chance of reaching Twickenham. I think it's 85% of sides, I think off the top of my head, go on to reach the final if you are at home in the final 4. Sale, though, nonetheless, well, they pose a stern challenge, and Michael Checker, the Tigers head coach, has been speaking with Adam Whitty. Time to take us out. Oh, super. So we probably won't use this tease.
We've got Father's Day coming up, a fantastic day out here to come and watch your Foxes. Against the Worcestershire Rapids, tickets available at the ticket office.
Thank you, Richard. This is not as straightforward as planned tonight.
T20 fixtures. Inquire at the club shop. Shout out to those in the pods who are just having the flag bearers come past them now, enjoying their pizza. Their pizza pods.
Say again, sorry. I had my headphones off. Are you alright? Do you need me to do anything this end? Cool. Yeah, it's not there. But let's hope, because we'll need it a lot tomorrow, so let's hope it's back to full strength tomorrow. I suspect they're probably doing, sort of, now the football season's over, they will probably start doing bug fixes on it.
to under 194 to take victory number 3 in the T20 Blast this season. Huge thanks to our official match sponsor, Gallagher Insurance, this evening. Thanks to our friends at Gallagher Insurance for your sponsorship of this Vitality T20
Okay, that's fine.
We appreciate your support this evening. That's to our friends and sponsor, Gallagher Insurance this evening.
Yes. So the wedding is tomorrow. He was debating whether he would be off this evening, but and rightly so, he should be off today. It's like the pre-do this evening. The big problem would have been if Tigers had got a home semi-final this evening, so if they finished, what, 3rd, then, well actually it wouldn't have been a home semi-final, it would have been a trip to the Rec. Yes. And obviously Jack's off today as well, so that would have presented a problem, but that's fine. Yeah, I think Adam's got a plan. Okay, umpire's walking out, mate. Yeah, that's fine. Don't stress. No, don't stress. Perfect time. So it's 3:30 kick-off tomorrow. We'll have live coverage, of course, here on BBC Radio Leicester with Jack Rafferty, Jack Zorup and Tom Vondell. Our build-up gets underway at 3 o'clock early kick-off, going back in time to the year 2008 between 2 and 3. Our focus on this Friday evening, though, on BBC Radio Leicester is T20 cricket. Durham needing 194 runs to win. Richard Ray, I think it's a sign, perhaps, of how cold it is that James Taylor down there is wearing his hat.
Yes, it has got markedly colder here at the Uptonsteel as the heavy grey cloud comes overhead, and the wind isn't particularly warm either, but that won't be worrying the two Durham batsmen heading out there. Alex Lees and Graham Clark. And I'm really pleased to say, and I'm sure that the Durham listeners will also be pleased to know that we're going to be joined for a short while, at any rate, by Rob Rush, who knows so much about the Durham players that I don't. That said, I know a fair bit about the Durham players who used to play for Leicestershire, Rob, but welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Rich. Very glad to be back. Back with you. Been a couple of years since we've last.
It's been a while. It's been a while, but it's going to be Graham Clark who's going to take strike. When you're thinking of the score, it looks about par. Do you think?
I think Leicestershire in the driving stick here, but we'll see how Durham go on the power play.
Van Beek is in to Clark, who turns him nicely. Nice piece of timing off his leg down towards deep mid wicket. A good sliding stop out there by Tom Scriven keeps Clark to 2. That was a nice piece of timing.
Yeah, I mean, we say it a lot in T20 cricket about how the power play is important. I'll specify that even more for Durham. It's these two in particular. Alex Lees, club captain this year. Graham Clark, been such a good white ball cricketer for the club. Now back in the red ball side as well. They're big power hitters.
Van Beek is in. Clark has a little nibble at one outside off stump. Leicestershire do have a slip in. Rishi Patel. There's a bit of normal cricket there. A little bit of swing and a slightly tentative nibble outside off stump from Clark. Lucky not to get anything as he went through into the gloves of Cox.
Yeah, a bit of early movement there, a bit of shape in and then away. Clark just fending it one outside his off stump. He has got that slip in. A fairly packed offside field as well, close in.
Van Beek bowls, and that is a thick-edge outside edge. A little bit squared up there. Was Graham Clark. Good throw. Comes in from third man from Liam Travaskis, I think it's out there. And one is taken. Yeah, I thought Folkes bowled well first up, really.
Yeah, he's been a very solid addition for the club since joining. I think he's around for the entire blast, which obviously helps. Takes on that really tough task of bowling at both ends, opening up with only those two fielders out, and at the death. The other thing for Durham is they do have right-left combos kind of throughout the order. They will change the order up. We've seen Ben Rain bat 5 or 6 if they can keep those right-left-hand combos going, which they've got here with Alex Lees on strike.
Van Beek bowls to the Yorkshireman, the Durham skipper, turns it off his legs or helps it down towards short fine leg. Lewis Hill is the fielder, throws at the stumps, but Clark, the Cumbrian, as ever quick between the wickets, and the single comfortably enough taken.
Yeah. That's what I thought Leicestershire did really well, Rich, in their innings, turning those ones into twos and getting a running between the wickets. That's something Durham will have to do as they go to chase. What is it, 194 for them to record their second win of the season. Came up close against Lancashire, taking it to the last ball, but fell short.
Van Beek is in, outside off stump, carved away. Nice shot by Clark. Just that little bit of width, not too much foot movement, but hit through the line of the ball, timed it very sweetly through the covers. Nobody out there on the cover boundary, and that is 4.
That's T20 cricket, isn't it? We saw that one earlier in the over, that little bit of movement, getting Clark to play it one that very easily one day ends up in either wicketkeeper or slipped hands in Clark's back in the shed without scoring. But that one, not as much movement, maybe a little bit closer to Graham Clark, and you don't need to give him a second invitation to freely hands, lovely carved away through the covers.
Van Beek is in to him, fullish outside off stump. He looks to drive. Oh, and he's going to get forward. Looked as though, well, he didn't time that at all. Came off a thickish inside part of the bat. But we saw in the Leicestershire innings that if you hit it straight, it is such a short boundary, straight either side of the crease, but particularly this side, the pavilion side, and going down the slope from the Bennett end, then you are going to pick up 4, and somehow that eluded Rishi Patel's attempt to stop it running across from mid-on, and that is another boundary to Clark. So in the end, 11 all to Clark off the over.
Well, that kind of is what the run rate sits at for Durham, that 10-11 mark, in order to get that chase going and make it a successful one. So it looks like Alex Lees is obviously going to face up. Still going to keep that slip in, Rishi Patel. Looks like got backward point, extra cover, mid-on, mid-off. They're actually going to just move over as well to have cover point in there for Alex Lees. It's going to be Matt Salisbury to kick things off from the far end. You have to give me, Rich, I'm not too up to date with the end names here. But Alex Lees on strike for Salisbury, who's in, and Lees, bottom of the bat, will just get that one up to mid-off. He'll take the single. And to be honest, I think we saw it last year. Lees played quite a holding role. Maybe not, that's the perfect way to describe it, but he allowed everyone to play around him. He was there at the end as Durham successfully chased for a victory. And, you know, I think he spoke at the end of the game. He knew it's a good batting wicket here. You can, if you keep wickets in hand, you can really score quickly at the back end. Obviously, both sides wanting to make use of the power players. Graham Clark is going to have a deep mid-wicket. 2 men are back on the leg side, deep backward square as well for Graham Clark. Matt Salisbury into him for the first time. He's in and bowls, and Clark whips that way quite fine. That's going to be another boundary for the Cumbrian. He's been in fine form in the red ball side of things, and he's now looking to carry it on in the white ball side as well.
Yeah, Matt Salisbury's been great to see him playing cricket again for a start, because as during his time at Durham, injury was an issue, and it was at the start of this season for Matt, but he started each of Leicestershire's games so far and has bowled very well, 3 for 79 at an economy rate of 7.1. But
see if he can bounce back here as he's into Clark, who drives, but it's straight back, who Salisbury takes in his follow through and almost has a shy at the non-striker's end, just reminding Alex Lees just to watch his ground. Yeah, if there's one batter Leicestershire can't really allow a Durham batter to really get away, it probably would be Graham Clark. You know, he has the ability.
He's done it here a few times.
Yeah, he has maybe he scored a wonderful century at Northants a couple of years ago. I think Durham won that one by 10 wickets. Him and Alex Lees saw it through from beginning to end, and he's just got such great power. She's looking to drop and run. It will just evade Salisbury, but good fielding on that offside from the ex-Durham man Liam Travaskis will keep Clark to a dot ball. So it's a good comeback from Salisbury after that opening boundary. Obviously Lees took the single off in first ball and Clark came for the boundary, but he's followed up with dots. 2 balls left in this second over. Hear it a lot, Rich. You just got to get out the overs.
Yeah,
you have to get out the overs. That's what Louis Kimber will be wanting from his opening bowler. Leaning edge from Salisbury. Well, from Clark, sorry, off Salisbury. He's going to dribble into that offside that will be a single. And I mentioned the right-left combos. This is something that Leicestershire will want to try and remove. You want to try and keep so you can have that line and length, and something that this opening pair allows Durham to do is have that right-left combo. You know, looks like Colin Ackerman and Ollie Robinson will be next in at 3 and 4, but then you've got Ben Rain, Jimmy Neesham, guys that can mix up that order. Ryan Campbell has shown he's not afraid to mix and match and try and get those favourable matchups, as everyone likes to say in T20 cricket. Last ball of Salisbury's first over the wicket to Alex Lees. Looks to lift him over mid-on and does. 1 bounce for 4. Good end to the over. We just mentioned it. Could Salisbury get out of the over successfully? The 5th ball went for a single. Alex Lees decides to take the aerial route and just evades the desperate dive, or desperate leaping attempt of mid-on. Alex Lees moves himself onto 9, I think. Clark is on 16. Good start for Durham off their first 2. Correction, that's 5 for Alex Lees off 3.
Not easy to tell because the 5 is cut in half. One part of the electronic scoreboard that's missing. I'm getting used to looking at the old manual again. Not every ground has them. Roman Walker bowling the 3rd over, bowls very straight to Clark, who just turns it wristily out towards wide-ish mid-on. Shan Masood is the fielder. Single comfortably taken, so 11 off each of the first 2 overs.
I wonder if the way to go here is pace off.
Well,
we saw it with Ben Rain at the back of the innings.
Absolutely what I was saying towards the end of the Leicestershire innings. One of the advantages of batting second or bowling second is you can see what has worked really, and it looks to be pace off. As Walker is in, that is a slightly pace off delivery, but beautifully placed and timed by Alex Lees. Just didn't even, you couldn't almost call it a cut really, just waited for it with the
effortless
horizontal bat and steered it, just let it almost hit the bat. Beautiful piece of timing, wide of point, and once you do that, as I've been saying, then you are going to almost certainly beat the fielder to the boundary.
It's one of those ones where you thought at the start of it wasn't going for 4, you thought it was going to be cut off, and then it just generally picked up pace, and as you say, Lees just kind of let it hit the bat. He didn't really put any force into it.
Walker is in. He's pulling that one, slightly short-ish delivery. Got on top of it though, pulled it out towards deep square where Rishi Patel in those shocking orangey pink boots. No, well, I don't mind. Shocking as in sort of electric shock, as rather than
to be fair, looking around the rest, I think every other Leicestershire player's got white boots.
Yeah, they're fairly, yes,
and so
uniform,
I think
aren't
the Durham batters as well, Lees and Clark, they've got white boots as well. So he's looking to stand out. He wants to be known. He wants to be seen.
Walker is in to Clark, who's got hold of that one. He's picked it up off his legs and lofted it down to long leg, stroke fine leg, but long leg really for 6. Beautiful pickup from Clark. Well, Leicestershire know over the years how destructive he can be on his day, the Cumbrian, and he's already on to 23 off just 11 balls, 34 without loss. We're only halfway through the 3rd over, and this is a destructive start.
With short,
Durham.
fine leg in the circle, you can't be bowling that sort of delivery that allows any sort of batter, let alone someone as destructive as Clark, to kind of just free those hands and lift it over.
Walker is in. He's done it again, and he's done him again. He's just lofted it high over square leg. Has it been dropped in the crowd?
He's dropped it in the crowd.
Dropped in the Uptonsteel stand, around about 2-3 rows back. Beautiful pickup. Consecutive maximums for Graham Clark. 29 off 12. And this is not what Roman Walker, I'm sure, is wanting to bowl because, well, he's asking for it.
It's brought a change in the field. That man at deep backward square has now gone out there just where Graham Clark has placed that exact shot. That second one was a bit squarer than the first one, but he won't mind 12 off 2 for him.
Walker is in, both short, pulled out to mid-wicket, should be caught, and is caught by Logan van Beek, running in 2 hands up to the front of his chest, and Clark's brief but hugely explosive innings has come to an end. Nobody, I suspect, will be celebrating or more relieved than Roman Walker.
Just off the top of the bat there from Clark, off the splice, didn't really, you could see his eyes had lit up, full of confidence after hitting those back-to-back sixes. You know, he would have felt in the groove, he would have been thinking, I can take everything on. Just maybe a little bit dragged back from Roman Walker, didn't kind of want to get hit again. But Clark went for it, top edge of the bat. You could tell from the sound, Rich, he didn't have all of it straight away, and good running round catch from deep mid-wicket to break that opening partnership. Clark has to go for 29. Leicestershire desperately needed that. Durham 40 for 1. Doesn't get any easier though for Leicestershire. Colin Ackerman, who you guys will know very well, is a brilliant T20 player. I think probably from a Durham point of view, starting to get the best out of him in this format. He's going to bat at number 3 here. He's going to be off strike to start, but he's a pretty good chaser in T20 cricket.
Yeah, we've seen him play some magnificent innings for Leicestershire over the years, both red ball and white ball.
Alex Lees to face up. Matt Salisbury gets another go. Second over for him. Lees tucks this leg side. Just going to be 1 for the Durham captain. He moves to 11 from 6. Will bring Ackerman straight on strike. Looks like they're going to do without the slip. Maybe a short third man is going to be in play. I think that's Lewis Hill, who's going to the edge of the disc. Sort of a short third.
Feels like a huge partnership, this, really.
Got a man out deep
Ackerman
backward square, yeah, and then there is a man on the boundary, sort of at a wide third man. Might be Liam Travaskis down there. I'd agree with you, Rich. This is a very crucial partnership for Durham, especially if they can maximise the rest of this power play. Ackerman tries to run that off the face, but it is straight to Hill, that short third man on the list. There'll be no run there. Kind of looking at the rest of the order, probably going to be Ollie Robinson in at 4, and then for Durham, the flexibility is a good thing. You've got Will Rhodes, who we didn't see with the ball. He has bowled a couple overs at the start of this competition, but you've got Will Rhodes, who could potentially move up the order. Ben Rain, everyone knows, just a consummate professional left-hand option. Really target those boundaries as Salisbury is in again to Ackerman on top of the bounce. Puts this one away. That's going to run away from Sol Budinger, and it's going to run for 4 through point. Lovely bit of timing from Ackerman, using the extra pace and bounce that Salisbury got compared to the last over, and just pushed it through that point region. He's off the mark. Second ball with a boundary. He moves to 4.
He was 6 years here, Colin Ackerman. Captain the side, obviously, for a couple of those.
I think he's still the world record holder for best T20 bowling figures. I think 7 for 18 or something like that. Salisbury brings out a forward defence from him there.
Yeah, in one of those sort of associate games, somebody managed 8 a couple of years ago, and I don't know whether it actually counts. It's a very obscure fixture.
Change in the field. Deep mid-wicket is going to go back onto the fence to join deep backward square, so the 2 men that are allowed out are on the leg side for Ackerman. It probably is the shorter boundary for the right-hander, so maybe Salisbury wants that extra protection. Ackerman down the track though. He says, you can put the fielders back on the leg side, I'm going to go over mid-on, and that is his first 6 down the track. Obviously doesn't fear the pace or the movement early on from Salisbury, and lofts it gloriously over mid-on. I think is Rishi Patel out there, and Ackerman very quickly moves to double figures.
Got all of that one, Ackers. 50 up for Durham, as we are only still in the 4th over of their innings. Leicestershire 65 for 2 at the end of their power play.
Yeah, after that Zach Falk's first over, it all just went swimmingly for the Foxes and kind of downhill for Durham. Ackerman, will he look to charge again? No, he stays in the crease, will drop this into the leg side, up to Rishi Patel on the floor at mid-on, and that will just be 1. So Salisbury goes for 11 again in his second over. He has none for 22 so far, and Durham, just flat loss of 1 wicket, are 52 for 1, and they still have 2 overs left of this power play. You'd reckon, Rich, if they could match or surpass Leicestershire's total, that they're in. Obviously, it's a very even game and a good start for the visitors. You don't want to be 3 wickets down. Ryan Campbell has said if you lose 3 wickets in a power play, about 80% of the games you end up losing. So Durham want to avoid that.
It's becoming a recognised stat as Walker is in and bowls, gets a little bit of extra bounce, but neatly played by Ackerman.
Was not in control of that.
He absolutely wasn't, but he managed just to get it down through the sort of slips area. Obviously no slips at the moment. Chasing back was Lewis Hill. It might have been a bit of glove as well, because it didn't go particularly quickly.
Yeah.
It did go fine of the diving Cox, and Ackerman picks up a couple, moves on to 13 from 6. Walker with quite a bushy beard. He's gone through stages, Roman, of being clean shaven, and then a sort of bandito moustache, and now he's got a full.
He's grown it out.
Quite hefty beard at the moment. Goes in and bowls very straight, nicely clipped away. Ackers, it looks in very good form out there. Plays it out to deep mid wicket. Van Beek runs around and fields. Ackers picks up a couple, moves on to 15.
One thing this does allow as well, it just allows Alex Lees to assess the situation. Obviously been out in the field 20 overs as captain, having to juggle the field, juggle his bowlers. He can now assess the pitch from the other end. He was quite happy to have Graham Clark had most of the strike, Colin Ackerman's had most of the strike to start this one. So this just gives Alex Lees valuable information for later on innings, which we did see here last year, where he was able to steer Durham to victory.
Walker into Ackerman, pushed straight out to point. Rishi Patel throws at the stumps at the non-striker's end, but it was a gesture as much as anything. Really, it missed the stumps, and Masood backed up, but they looked at each other. He wasn't entirely sure, Ackerman. He left it to Lees to make the call. Lees called him through, and it was pretty safe. He picked his man. He's not got the strongest arm on the Leicestershire side, Rishi. Ackers on to 16. Leans on his bat and watches as Lees, who's only faced 6 deliveries. Walker is in, bowls to the Durham skipper onto the legs, Midland leg, just works it out towards mid wicket. Travaskis comes into field and 1 is taken. 58 for 1.
That's something later in innings you'll see. Obviously the game will dictate it, but left-handers, we know they're strong off their hips, the angle that sort of creates. Later on in innings you'll see Alex Lees take the more aerial route with that. It obviously will come with the risk. There probably will be a deep backward square out for him. But it's one of those ones, he's just analysing the pitch, seeing how it's developing. He's got such a smart cricket brain, he's using that information for later.
Walker is in to Ackerman, goes back, and that familiar sort of turn of the wrists as he works it out towards deep mid wicket and jogs his single. 59, 1 ball to go in the over. Lees looks around him, the 2 men out in the power play for the left-hander. Deep square, or deep backward square, and deep mid wicket. As Walker is in, bowls to Lees, who's working it towards that deep mid wicket. Liam Travaskis, formerly of Durham, of course, runs in and fields, throws on the bounce, and 1 is taken. So 60 for 1 means just 8 off that over. In the context of what has gone before, that was a tolerably successful over as far as Roman Walker was concerned.
Looks like it's going to be Logan Van Beek into the attack. His 4 overs, I think, obviously you're overseas, you want them to be that extra level, that extra-handed, raise everyone up from your homegrown players. And I think tonight particularly we saw Zach Folks, who had success with his overs for Durham. Jimmy Neesham, hit and miss, did pick up wickets but was expensive. You know, Logan Van Beek into the attack for the first time. This sort of spell could help define Leicestershire if they can get off to win, or if Durham can scamper back up north with the points. He's into Lees, flicks this away. There is a man on the fence. They've got 1. They're going to come back for 2. Should be comfortable. Travaskis running around doing the fielding, and it will be 2 to the Durham captain. He moves to 15.
Yeah, he's been outstanding all season, Logan Van Beek. 5 wickets in the 3 T20s played up to this point, which is the most of the best return in terms of wickets taken for any of the Leicestershire players, but he's also been outstanding in the county championship as well in the first 7 games. 25 wickets, something like that.
It's in again now to Alex Lees, takes a shuffle, leg side, it's going to clip it, should just be 1. They run that one hard. Alex Lees and Ackerman almost a mix-up. Ackerman wanted the 2, he turned immediately and wanted it. Alex Lees had the same intention, but got a couple steps out of his ground and sent his partner back, and now they're going to have a chat in the middle, just making sure they're on the same page. I think that probably would have been a tight 2. If you're looking at a good throw, look, Ben Cox up to the stumps, I think you're maybe looking at a run out there, which is what Durham really do not want in this last over of the power play.
He has a strong arm, Liam Travaskis, and was a very fast throw, a little bit high.
That's probably something as well, running around to his left hand. Travaskis being left-handed, maybe we'll see him after the power play is done. Ackerman looked to absolutely smoke that over to the leg side, but in the end gets a toe end of it and will just dribble up to mid-off for a single. He moves to 18 off just 10 balls for him. He's had a quite punchy start to his innings, providing that impetus that Ryan Campbell would have wanted, especially when you are chasing 194 to win in the T20 game. It's definitely on the higher side of things. Van Beek is in over the wicket to Lees, full toss. It's going to be clothed down to mid-on by the Durham skipper, number 19 on his back. He'll pick up a single. He practices the pull shot at the non-striker zone, which is where he probably wanted that ball to go as a full toss. Ackerman back on strike, and have 2 men out leg side, deep backward square and deep mid-wicket for him. Everyone else is on the rings. Last over of the power play, just 2 balls left of it. Van Beek over the wicket to Ackerman, goes aerial mid-off, runs back, takes a brilliant catch. Colin Ackerman looking to go over mid-off. It held in the air. There is a bit of a breeze here today, just held in the breeze. And Louis Kimber, the Leicestershire Foxes skipper, running back over his head. Not an easy catch. Takes it, falls over, but most importantly keeps the ball in the palm of his hand. Colin Ackerman, I mentioned, it's been a punchy start. It's a punchy end. He has to go for 18 from 11. Leicestershire will be delighted to see the back of their former captain. Durham lose their second, 65 for 2. With just 1 ball left of the power play. It's going to be Ollie Robinson on strike to walk out at number 4.
He has a great pair of hands, Louis Kimber. Usually when he's playing red ball cricket, he's in the slips. And he's probably the best catcher on the Leicestershire side. He did have a fair bit of backpedaling to do there, but he did it and managed to get 2 hands to the ball. And that's huge, really. Ackers was looking in prime touch.
It's something you just want to have that constant flow of wickets. Yeah. You just want to have the constant flow of wickets, you know, not allow a partnership to really get set. You know, Graham Clark looked like he was going to be the driving force for Alex Lees. They picked Graham Clark up. Colin Ackerman looked like he's about to get going. Louis Kimber, brilliant catch. To mention, Ollie Robinson in at 4. The Durham wicketkeeper batter moved up from Kent, 3-year contract extension over the winter. Last ball of the power play over the wicket. He's going to drop it for 1. So end of the power play for Durham, very evenly matched compared to the Foxes. Leicestershire, I believe, 65 for 2.
Correct.
The power play. Durham will end it 66 for 2. So on as even after the first 6 overs, and now it looks like Durham will look to accelerate. Sorry, Rich.
No, so they're bringing Scriven on. I thought they might go spin, but they clearly feel that sort of medium-ish, brisk, maybe taking the pace off it is the way to go.
Ben Rain was the blueprint for Durham.
Yeah, very much. We can't he's always is, isn't he, Rain?
That statement doesn't apply to just T20 cricket.
No,
that is every cricket game ever. Ben Rain sets the standard.
Pretty much. It wasn't actually quite his best T20 figures.
I remember
he's got a 5 for 21 against, as you say,
Warwickshire last year. I remember
against Bears, but 5 for 23.
That's not
bad. Far off. Not far off. So Tom Scriven, who did not bowl for Leicestershire against Lancashire at Old Trafford a couple of days ago, comes in and bowls to Robinson outside off stump. He goes for a sort of square drive off the front foot and rather windmills his bat underneath the ball, raises his eyes to the heavens. It didn't particularly get up on him.
No, you're probably looking at cutters here, off cutters, leg cutters.
Normally with Tom, it's seam and a little bit of a waist swing, and he's quite a sort of skiddy bowler. He's been a little bit expensive so far. Runs in and bowls. That's a super delivery.
That's a genuine
beauty. A genuine outswinger that beats Robinson, and he gestures with his right hand, Ollie Robinson, a little bit of swing, and that's what Scriven can do, even with a sort of white ball that is, I suppose, already a third of its way through its useful life. It's just whether he's got the variations sometimes that concerned me a bit in T20 how he goes and bowls and it's fullish outside off stump. There's a little bit of swing still there for him, and Robinson drives out through the covers. There is cover now out there with the strong arm of Liam Travaskis, so just the single.
Something just to be wary of. We can see some raindrops just outside the window to the left-hand side. Durham will obviously have, well, both sides, but Durham in particular looking at that DLS par score. Something just a little bit extra to keep in mind. I don't want to fall too far behind that, and certainly you don't want to play for that. You want to play to chase the 194, but something, just another thing to keep in the back of the mind.
Scriven outside off stump. Lees pushes firmly out towards extra cover, bounces straight to Kimber, and there is no run at the moment. They're well ahead. Durham of the DLS, which would be 60, is showing 60 at the moment. They're 67 for 2, but I would say rain wasn't forecast, and I don't think it will be too much of a problem. In goes Scriven bowls to Lees, who waits for slightly short of a length delivery and works it out to long gone Walker Fields. One is taken. I remember a match against Durham in the T20 a few years ago. It's very controversial. I think we somehow got 7, the minimum that is allowed, 7 overs aside, but there was one against Yorkshire as well that Yorkshire were furious.
Durham have also had their fair share of short games.
Scriven is in. That is the slower ball. It is slightly misdirected on towards the toes of Robinson, who clips it out towards long on. But overall, that is a good over. Just the 3 runs from it from Tom Scriven.
Yeah, Ollie Robinson, Alex Lees having a conflab in the middle, just talking about those variations. Yeah, Durham, I remember last year, had a rain-shortened game against Northamptonshire towards the back end of the group stage. Durham, I think, went into that game in 3rd place, and if they won that game, they were pretty much in control of their own destiny going into the Blast knockout stages. Ended up being a 9-over-a-side game, which I don't think either side were really happy about, but Northamptonshire came out winners of that. You saw the very funky batting order. I think Alex Lees dropped down to number 3 and then was gone second ball, so they were trying. Fortunately, Durham got through from their point of view, but it was just an extra added little bit of stress. And speaking of Durham, it might be Leicestershire bowling, Rich, but Liam Travaskis is no stranger to the northeast.
Absolutely.
He's going to start left arm spin over the wicket to Ollie Robinson. Squirts out into the offside, but no run. These dot balls and these 1s and these 2s so important for Leicestershire. Every ball you can get out without a boundary, so good, especially when you have a new bowler into the attack as well. You want to make sure they can get off to a good start. Will fill Louis Kimber with confidence, and that is a leaning edge from Robinson that just dropped short of Matt Salisbury in at 3rd on the ring, and they'll scamper through for a single. Robinson not quite had the start to the season just before the T20 Blast started that he would have wanted. Did start to pick up some form, scored a 70-odd down at Hampshire, then his first century of the season, I believe, came against Nottinghamshire. He's still, I think he definitely admitted he's not had the best start, but he's now looking to carry on. Alex Lees is going to go for the reverse sweep, doesn't make contact, goes through to Ben Cox unharmed behind the stumps from Durham captain's point of view. He's 18 from 14, Robinson 4 off 7. Leicestershire just look to be wrestling a little bit of control back into this. Travaskis in again. Alex Lee is going to look for 2. They're going to run the first hard. He's there. Ollie Robinson sends his captain back, and I think smart choice. Sean Masood out at long on for the Durham skipper. I don't think there was 2 there.
Travaskis has bowled his 11 overs so far, but in the 3 games that the 11 overs that he's bowled for at 5s, just 5.5s he's conceded. He's been hugely economical.
Into Robinson now. He goes aerial, but that's going to drop short. The man at long on for Robinson is right on that boundary edge, and there's no one in before. Robinson rehearses the shot, but in the end turned out to be very safe. Dropped pretty much on the discs for the Durham keeper. He moves to 5. Slight change in the field, obviously, for the right-left hand combo. Umpire at square leg just dotting something down. Travaskis in to Lees. Slapped down the ground by the captain, and that will end another successful over from Leicestershire. That's 2 overs now for the Foxes without a boundary. Durham need to start making those inroads into this score, which currently reads 73 for 2, chasing 194 for win. They were just ahead of that run rate, but they're now dipped just below it. But it's been very tight bowling from Leicestershire. Hasn't been able to get anything away, but at some point, Rich, even if it's a good ball or a bad ball, you just have to start. You have to start going for boundaries in order to bring that run rate down.
They squeezed really nicely after the power play at Old Trafford, Leicestershire. That was mainly through the spinners, it's got to be said, but it is a sort of something that they really do try to do. Scriven continues from the pavilion end, bowls to Lees outside off stump. Lees walked down the wicket at him, and had he not done so, it would have definitely been signalled wide, and he sort of gestures slightly, and he's making his point to Rob Bailey in a way that won't particularly endear him to Rob Bailey, I don't think.
We saw a couple, Jimmy Neesham had those two back-to-back where the first one was definitely wide. The second one, the batter did take the step over, but by the letter of the laws in white ball cricket, anything down leg side is a wide, so it was given. Going to have keeper stand up to Scriven now. Again, saw this Ollie Robinson to Ben Rain.
Sam Wood scampering out with the helmet.
It's a tall bloke.
Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some big youths coming through. You hate to see Alex Green. He's terrifying. In goes Scriven and bowls to Lees, who doesn't time his attempted drive. It wasn't at the pitch of the ball. Looks down at his bat as he completes the single. The ball bounces slightly apologetically out towards Kimber.
You don't need to tell me about big lads, Rich. We've got two up at Durham, and Ben McKinney and Dan Hogg, that are absolute giants. 6'7", I think, and 6'9".
Goodness.
Those two. So yeah.
Are they big with it, or are they sort of, you know, slim? Or
I think Ben's slightly bigger in his frame, and Hogg is a little bit more on the slimmer side.
Scriven to Robinson, beautifully taken by Ben Cox because it bounced on him. Cox standing up to the stumps, tried to sort of flick it away into the offside.
Bounce there from Scriven.
Cox took it round about chest high. Super take.
Look, this is a really crucial period now for Durham. Not been able to get a boundary away in a while. They need to start. The ones and twos were good in the power play, but not so much now. They need to start finding that rope.
Scriven is in. Robinson flicks him off his leg straight to deep backward square. Matt Salisbury down there. Just a single is taken, and just as an illustration of that point, that they are now exactly level with the DLS, having been well ahead of it towards the end of the 6th over. There were 8 or 9 runs ahead of it. Now they're level. So Lees, 21 off 18. Waits as Scriven is in to him. Slower ball lofted in the air, and he's caught by Shan Masood on the long off boundary. Stands there, the Durham skipper, with his head down. Can't quite believe it. Hit it pretty hard, but it was a little bit flat as well, and it is that short boundary, but Masood never looked like missing it. Aldridge took 3 catches down there for Durham, and Leicestershire have picked up their 3rd wicket, and it's a big one in every sense. It's Alex Lees.
That's pressure talking. Alex Lees, before that ball, he'd just taken a few shuffles over his stumps, was slightly exposing his leg stump, so I was expecting him to maybe swing for the leg side, for the left-hander from where Scriven is bowling, just down in front of us. That is the shorter boundary for the left-hander, so he had taken a couple of steps over, so I wonder if he was trying to eye up that leg side from an aerial shot. Scriven pushed it across him, which forced him to come back down towards Shan Masood. Could tell just from the moment it left his bat, hadn't got all of it, and Shan Masood pretty much did not have to move to take that catch. And you say big in every sense of the word, it is a massive wicket whenever you can get rid of the opposition captain. He has to go for 21 from 19, and Leicestershire will be happy he won't be taunting them at the back end of the innings. Does bring out the next batter for Durham. They're going to carry on with the left-right hand combo. It's Ben Rain who's going to walk out at number 5.
Scriven is into Ben Rain, outside off stump, beautifully timed off the back foot out towards deep extra cover. He could be 4, but a really good diving stop by Matt Salisbury, reaching out with his left hand.
I think it's Van Beek.
Is it Van Beek? Yes, it is. You're right. It is Van Beek, and 2 instead of 4. Well, they could be important runs at the end of the day, but that is another outstanding over from Scriven. Not only the fact that he conceded only 4 runs from it, but he took a huge wicket. So 3 overs have yielded 11 runs. The last 3 overs, just 11 runs.
We do see this in T20 in terms of you try to take the game deep. You know, Joss Butler for England loves to use that saying of we'd like to take the game deep because you can catch up really quickly. But at some point, as we're going to have a change in bowling here for Leicestershire, Travascus just that 1 over. It's going to be the captain himself, Louis Kimber. At some point, I do feel like Durham are maybe going to have to just target that 1 bowler, and no matter what is bowling, he's going to have to go Robinson to Kimber. It's going to come over the wicket. It's going to be cut just over short third man. It's going to be 4 for Ollie Robinson, the captain for Leicestershire, bringing himself on, trying to maybe buy an extra over for seamers later on in the innings, but Robinson able to cut that up and just over. There's two on the disc, I think. Matt Salisbury is one of them. It just cut just over his head and ran away to 4.
Yeah. It's been a little expensive when he's bowled.
Slog sweep from Robinson. Hasn't got all of it. Oh, that looked as if it maybe just got over the rope, but second attempt from the fielder out there just keeps it.
Walker.
Yeah, very good effort from Roman Walker. Umpires do not signal. It looked like it a naked eye. Maybe it just travelled over the rope, but it didn't bounce over the rope. So therefore,
yeah, it was in the air, wasn't it? And when he knocked it back.
Still just in the field of play. There is that gap there, though. Kimber switching angles over the wicket to Robinson. That's aerial, that's high. Walker says mine. Walker says have some of that. Robinson looking to go. We just mentioned about they're going to have to pick one bowler to try and go after. Durham's wicketkeeper had decided Louis Kimber was the man, but maybe slightly dragged down, maybe a little bit of pace off. Saw Robinson as he walks off towards us, just signalling what Kimber was trying. He tried to go for cow corner and have all of it, but did not manage so. Now as a word with the incoming batter, Jimmy Neesham, and Roman Walker, after saving 2 runs the ball before, dismisses the Durham wicketkeeper batter. And after a fairly even power play, Rich Ray, Leicestershire are controlling these middle overs.
Yep, it is what they've done well. They've done it very well in the Championship. They've bowled. They haven't conceded too many runs at any stage. Obviously, completely different game, but a very different sort of discipline. But they've taken it to some extent into this, and keeping it tight is important. Neesham, though, very powerful hitter.
Very big hitter, brings that wealth of experience. New Zealand and also every single international, franchise tournament he's played. I think while the PSL was suspended, he flew out of the country and then flew back for one game to finish off the PSL, and then came back, or then flew to Newcastle and is now settled in that Durham middle order. He comes out with his side in a bit of trouble. 4 down, 83 for 4. Kimber to Neesham. It starts to slow ball, and Neesham can only prod it into mid-wicket for no run. Going with 2 left-handers here, Durham. So no Will Rhodes. Yeah, he's obviously another left-hander. Casey Aldridge. And this is maybe where Leicestershire can start turning the screw on the visitors. Neesham rocks onto the back foot. He will be off the mark with a 4. There's the first boundary really for Durham. Ollie Robinson had hit one earlier in the... tried to hit one earlier and got saved. That's the first Durham boundary in the most recent memory, and they're going to need a lot more of that.
One down to third man in the first ball of the over, wasn't it?
Yeah, cut Robinson, over third man. Between
the two on the edge of the circle. But yeah, point taken.
Going to need a lot more. Neesham on strike. Kimber over the wicket to him. Will flick this into the side. Neesham wants 2. Rain was a bit slow on the uptake, and in the end it will just be 1. So successful over for Leicestershire. Captain Kimber bringing himself on into the attack, picks up the valuable wicket of Ollie Robinson, having Durham 4 down now, and that run rate is just starting to climb.
Yeah, whether Kimber will bowl any more remains to be seen. He's going to keep going with Scriven, interestingly, though.
Maybe it's tough because he's bowled so well, so maybe you want to keep him in that rhythm, but also seen that he could be vital at the back end. Yeah, maybe it's just one more and save that extra over.
He's been a little bit expensive in the first 3 games when he didn't bowl last time out, but in the first 2 when he bowled, he was a little bit expensive. He's been much better in this, but let's hope he can keep it up. 1 for 7 from 2 as he runs in and bowls to Neesham from the pavilion end on the legs. Neesham works it around the corner. Patel sprawls to his right in an attempt to stop it at on the 45, really on the edge of the circle. Doesn't get anything on it, but running in Lewis Hill was right behind him, made the stop, and it was always going to be 1 anyway. Neesham 1 to 6 off 4 brings Rainey down to face. He's already got 5 wickets. Can Ben do more damage with the bat? In goes Scriven, bowls to him. He steps across, tries to ramp it, and he doesn't get anything on it. It hits Cox. So it's a bye, but it came off Cox's, painful slightly vulnerable area. It sounded like it hit wood, but it obviously hit box, and Ben Cox knew all about it.
It's one of those. Yeah, you just don't. You're thankful he's up and moving around, but did not look like a good. Did not look like a good hit there. Thankfully, he's back up and ready to go.
Scriven into Neesham, who tries to cut. Cox takes it unfussily outside off stump. Standing up, obviously, and then bends over again, and
that's going to hurt in the morning. No worry about it hurting now. It will definitely hurt in the morning when he wakes up. That run rate now just sneaking up to pretty much 11 over. Durham currently at 8.5. They're going to have to start going soon.
And they're well behind DLS now as Scriven is in. Again outside off stump, crunched away to the deep extra cover boundary, where running along the ropes, Logan van Beek makes an athletic. He is a real athlete, Van Beek, and it's one of the things you notice about him, whether he's batting, bowling or chasing in the field. He's been brilliant. He's getting lots of love from the Stenchen Benno group down there.
Got to say, there's fantastic atmosphere coming from that stand over there.
Scriven is in. Rain looking again to ramp, stepped across. Scriven, he went very early. Scriven saw him going and went outside off stump. Rain went back into his normal stance and tried to do something.
It was almost like the
didn't
paddle.
Didn't get anything on it.
It was like a paddle sweep.
I don't know what he was trying to do in the end there, Rain, and I'm not sure he does. And Cox made another good stop. Wait, says Cox to Tom Scriven. Why?
It's going back.
Because he's going to go back. Takes the helmet off, because if Rain is going to keep doing that, he's going to
maybe get
a little catch. Yeah. Scriven is in, and Rain steps right across, tries to do it again, but that is wide. It is so far wide, it is outside the cut strip.
Like I say, standing umpire signal wide.
He's going to get cross here. What's he going to get cross about?
It didn't, like you say, didn't pitch on the cut strip, so that, I think in the laws, is a no ball.
He's walking across, umpire Bailey, to talk to O'Shaughnessy. Rain knows the law.
Maybe
it says it was outside the cut strip. Therefore,
I'm guessing because Rain.
I'm guessing because Rain across.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's maybe because Rainey has stepped across to try and play it. Maybe that sort of impacts it. But you can see.
So not a free hit.
Not a free hit. Ben Rain is not. He's having a polite conversation with the umpire, which is still ongoing. I wonder if the umpire can understand his strong accent. Maybe
has he got stronger
maybe
again
just ask him
since
to
he's gone
repeat
back
it.
up, has he? Scriven is in and bowls straight to Rain, who clubs him low to mid-on and is caught. And Rain can't quite believe that. Roman Walker taking a good low catch, but it was straight to him. And you just wonder whether Rain's head was a little bit scrambled, really, with what had gone on before. And Bailey's already he's talking to him as he goes off. He's explaining why it wasn't a no ball, but and the conversation continues as Rain retreats towards the pavilion. And well, either way, it's the end of our old friend, and the 5th Durham wicket to fall. So a good start is
Roman
beginning
Walker
to sort of deteriorate badly.
Roman Walker had just moved up as well. He'd just been brought up from long on to that mid-on position for that last ball. And Ben Rain, it's just a chip shot. Like you say, Rich, I don't know whether maybe he just hadn't fully focused back in after that little discussion. You can see he's not happy with himself. And after what has been a very good start for Durham, 66 for 2 after the power play, it's currently 30 for 3 since. And this is where in the Leicestershire innings they just consistently found the boundary, consistently were able to add up those runs. Durham couldn't exert any real control with the ball. Well, it's vice versa now. Leicestershire finding all the control with the ball, picking up wickets. Kimber's going to continue to Jimmy Neesham. He's going to push out to point no run. Casey Aldridge is the new batter for Durham. First 8 games of the Blast he is available for, and potentially I think he's out of contract with Somerset at the end of the season, so maybe playing for a future move. If not to Durham, then other clubs. Neesham comes down the track but cloths it. Not out the middle of the bat by any means of the imagination. He'll just pick up 1.
And Leicestershire, in a slightly different way, are kind of hoping for a similar result in terms of Ben Green, who's obviously he's wanted by Somerset for white ball cricket, but not at all for red ball cricket. So he's been brilliant for Leicestershire the first 7 red ball games, and will come back for the middle 2 at the end of this month.
Kimber to Aldridge, his first ball. He's got two men in close, one on the offside, one on the leg side. Aldridge is going to go back to this one, just drops it off his hips to the leg side. And this is where, as a club, if you pay big money for a big name overseas, is where you need him to stand up. Jimmy Neesham now, it's a lot. He's going to have Casey Aldridge. Will Rhodes going to have to go with him. But you are kind of now looking square at him. If Durham are going to have any chance, they need a further 100 to win now. If there's any chance, it's going to be from Neesham. He comes down the track, misses it, but Ben Cox did not have the ball in his hands. Did not have the ball in his hands when he disrupted the bails. Neesham gets a life on 8.
Goodness, it could be big. Most un-Cox-like. I don't know quite what happened there. He has his back to us, so we couldn't quite see.
Maybe
whether
the
we
bounce.
just went, yeah.
Maybe also the excitement. He's seen Neesham miles out of his ground down the track. Can Kimber come back? Reverse sweep from Neesham, but he does not get all of it, and it's the ex-Durham man, Liam Travaskis. Durham are sinking without trace. The Foxes are having a happy hunting on this Friday night at Leicestershire, and it looks like they're going to get another victory in the Vitality T20 Blast unless something remarkable can happen. Neesham is frustrated, he's annoyed. Quite frankly, Rich, right, it's just how the rest of the wickets have gone down.
Yeah.
Didn't get all of it, not out the middle of the bat, 94 for 6, and as I said, Durham are kind of sinking without trace here on Friday night.
It's been a slightly frantic effort by the middle order, really, and actually Cox celebrated that as much as anything. I've just seen a replay of the miss stumping, and Kimber had actually begun to celebrate. He had both hands in the air when it popped out of Cox's gloves, but it wasn't expensive. Didn't cost a run because a wicket fell the next ball anyway. And Kimber, well, everything he's touching is turning to gold at the moment.
Yeah. This is also what runs on the board does to chasing sides. It's pressure. It's scoreboard pressure. Even though Leicestershire aren't currently adding the runs on, they have them to play with. They got them in the back pocket. They have 193 on first innings. You know, the gauntlet set down to Durham. Come on, you've got to chase this down if you want to win. You know, we can put the pressure on you. Durham got off to that good start in the power play, but since then, it's been all Leicestershire. Will Rhodes, the new batter in for the away side. He's going to flick this one through mid-wicket for 1. He's going to get off the mark first ball. Not played a lot of T20 cricket at Warwickshire, but Ryan Campbell has said he does see a role for him in this T20 side. For how much longer when Emilio Gay and Ben McKinney come back off Lions duty is another question. Ben McKinney maybe being touted as a lower middle order finisher, which would see someone like, well, ironically, the two batters around the middle, Casey Aldridge and Will Rhodes, it probably would see one of them out of the team, but that's an issue for another day for Durham. Right now, the issue they have is they are 96 for 6, chasing 194, and are staring down the barrel, Rich, of a very heavy defeat.
Beginning to look that way. 33 for 4 off the last 6 overs, having been 66 for 2 off the first 6. Will Rhodes looks around him, sees 4 men out on the leg side and just the one on the off side. Roman Walker's back into the attack after Scriven's excellent 3-over burst. Walker is in, bowls 2 Rhodes straight. Rhodes works it towards mid-wicket, takes the first one quickly, turns for the second, but there wasn't ever really a chance, and Aldridge sends him back. 96 for 6, a long way behind now in comparison terms, but also in the DLS, which has Durham at 127 now. They are 96 for 6. The wickets falling obviously make a huge difference, but after 12 overs, Leicestershire 124 for 4. So at the moment, they're in control.
That stand is providing very good support for Leicestershire today.
Walker is in, bowls 2 Aldridge, slower ball pushed out firmly towards wide-ish extra cover. Sol Budinger, who got a pearler first ball
It's one
a
of
long time ago.
You can't do much about that.
No, and had to go straight away. Top of off from Zach Folkes, just came back in. Super delivery. But he's trying to make a contribution in the field now anyway. Aldridge on strike as Walker turns, runs in past umpire Bailey and bowls. Short ball, dragged down a little bit, pulled by Aldridge very cleanly, but straight to Salisbury. A deep backward square, and one is taken.
So stating the obvious, but that it doesn't do anything for Durham. They're taking the singles, that scoreboard pressure. Leicestershire, they're more than happy to let those singles go. They can really just focus on protecting those boundaries. Obviously, they would like 4 wickets and 4 balls, wrap this up as soon as they can, but they won't just mind getting tapped around for singles here.
Walker in 2 Rhodes, slower ball. Again, slightly short, pulled around the corner by Rhodes, but again, it is just the 1.
Just a work of Scriven and Travaskis really that sort of started this slide for Durham.
Yeah.
40 for 1, Clark was the first one, 65 for 2 when Ackerman went the ball before the end of the power play. Then Lees, there was only 10 runs, 75 for 3, 83 for 4, 92 for 5 and 94 for 6. And as I say, it's that scoreboard pressure, just having to force Durham to go big, and then you either go big or go home.
Walker is in, drops it a little bit short as chasing down the wicket goes Aldridge, and he flat bats it away over extra cover. Drops well short of the boundary, but it just skips across the turf, takes that little bit of extra momentum from that slight slope, and no chance for Kimber to chase it down. So Aldridge used his feet well there. Walker saw him coming and banged it in shorter, but there was width. That was the main thing. He could free his arms, and he did, and got it away to the boundary. He moves on to just 6 with that boundary, but he brings up the Durham 100, 102 for 6 as we come towards the end of the 13th over of their reply. Kimber's gone back to long off, which means that long leg has got to come up to the edge of the circle. Walker is in. Aldridge reverse pulls, if they can do such a thing. He turned his stance and pulled it off the stumps left-handed, so to speak. I think he got most of it, not quite all of it, but most of it, and he got it down to, officially the 3rd man boundary for 4. So he finishes the over well, Casey Aldridge, with consecutive boundaries, but that was almost a pull, wasn't it? A left-handed pull.
Yeah, and as much as anything, obviously he's still got to do a job for the team, but as we mentioned earlier, he's out of contract with Somerset at the end of the season. Obviously they are quite happy for him to explore the opportunities by letting him come on loan to Durham, so he's got to put himself in the shop window. If it is for Durham, then obviously Durham are getting a first-hand look at him, but if it's not for Durham, it's got to be someone else that maybe it could take a flyer on him. First 8 games he's available for in the Blast. Liam Travaskis is going to come back into the attack. He's going to have Will Rhodes 3 off 3 for the ex-Warwickshire skipper. Travaskis in, and Rhodes is going to look for 2 out towards deep mid-wicket, but they are going to come back for it. I didn't think 2 was on there, and Aldridge just makes his ground. Liam Travaskis at the non-striker's end, picked up the ball, was thrown at his end.
Masood was a thrower.
Yeah,
he's got a good arm.
Very good throw, very accurate as well, straight into the mitts of Travaskis. And I think if Travaskis was able to take it cleanly, potentially Aldridge would have had to make the long walk back down to the Durham dressing room. But Rhodes will pick up 2. Good running from the Durham pair, but they need a lot more than that. Big shout for LBW, and Aldridge is set down. It's chaos out in the middle right now. LBW appeal first up. I don't think there was any issue with that. Aldridge had set off to come and take a leg by. There was never a leg by on there, and I think it was... might have been... who's number 88?
Scriven.
Scriven then fired it in the leg side. I think it might have clipped Aldridge's heels on the way back, but fortunately made his ground. Rhodes tries to slog sweep through mid-wicket, but no contact, no damage done for Durham, and it's just getting more and more difficult now. The run rate is massively creeping up. It's at
13.2.
It's 13s now for Durham. Kind of everything has to start going to the rope just for a slim chance, and that's going to be given a wide for Travaskis. Fired that in down the leg side. No chance for Rhodes to say that. Very well taken though by Cox. Avoid any extra to the wide. But again, Leicestershire firmly in the driving seat here in Friday Night. The Foxes looking for another victory. Tossed up outside the off stump. And Will Rhodes, well, that is a quite fantastic diving stop from Shah Masood.
Brilliant stuff.
Travaskis tossed it up, offered width. Rhodes took it and slapped it over his head down the ground. Shah Masood is currently at long on and ran all the way down to kind of a straight on and managed to not only flick it back in but then get back up and affect the throw back in. So
well, he knocked it to Hill, who was coming the other way, and Hill actually threw it in, but it was still brilliantly athletic work from Masood.
It's like changes in the field on the leg side. Deep square legs are going to move a bit squarer for Rhodes. Vasquez changes the angle as well, and Rhodes again likes deep mid wicket but can only pick up a single. As we said, this won't harm Leicestershire. This won't worry them in any way, shape or form. Durham almost need the perfect over. They need 36 off and over to really drag themselves back into it, but just where is it going to come from? Hasn't looked like, really, apart from the power play when Graham Clark got going, that is going to happen. Aldridge on strike to Travaskis, fires this one in, no width, no anything really to work with, and Travaskis escapes the over with a dot ball. Aldridge is still there. He's 10 off 6. Rhodes is 8 off 8. 112 for 6.
Yeah,
6 overs left.
6 off the over.
6 overs left. 82 off 36. Over 2 a ball required. And Scriven is going to bowl out here.
That's Alex Green, who's just running off at the moment. He's a fast bowler, and he is quick as well, but he's a huge chap.
Jesus. What are these guys eating that is encouraging these growth spurts?
Schools are sending out these monsters. Big chaps. Scriven, 3 overs already under his belt. He's going to finish off now from the pavilion end, so Walker probably done. 3 for 37 for him. In he goes and bowls, just holds it back, but a nice cut, just waited for that one, Will Rhodes, and cut it between the two men who were up on the edge of the circle at short third and backward point, and he picks up 4. Nice shot. We saw Alex Lees play something similar in the opening over.
Just let it run on
and pick your spot.
Yeah, I think
the pace.
that stand back experiment, maybe they just want to force Rhodes back into his crease. Cox is going to have the helmet. He's going to stand straight back. He's actually going to move Rishi Patel a bit finer as well on the kind of the long leg boundary now. He's going to move him just a few steps finer to cover that option from Rhodes, and also going to move man on the 45 on the boundary. He's going to move a bit squarer as well.
Scriven with Cox standing up, bowls very straight, whipped away off the stumps by Will Rhodes out towards deep mid wicket. Travaskis is quickly on to the ball. It's a full throw. It's not one of those throws that bounces in front of the keeper. Indeed, it's slightly to the right, so and about shoulder height.
That's the norm in white ball cricket, isn't it? Kind of they throw it in on the bounce rather than on the full, but
not on that occasion.
I think they also just want to avoid any chance of Durham getting 2. If you can have it in on the full, then the ball doesn't have the momentum taken out of it by coming in on the bounce.
Scriven to the right-handed Aldridge now, bowls onto the legs, slightly slower ball, worked by Aldridge down towards long leg, running back. It's Lewis Hill who gets there ahead of Matt Salisbury. Aldridge picks up a couple though. This has been a reasonably productive over so far.
Been very tight in the field as well from this year. Not been very many mistakes. Everything working together. We saw that Hill and Masood effort last over, just making sure that Durham don't get any of that momentum, any freebies. Really just pegging them back.
Scriven is into Aldridge, full straight. Aldridge tries to hit hard and straight, gets a thick inside edge out towards mid wicket. Van Beek charges in, picks up and throws slightly wide of Cox, and Aldridge anyway had made his ground. 121 for 6. Still needing, well, almost 14 runs and over now, Durham. 73 needed off 5.2 as Scriven bowls down the leg side, taken by Cox, but will of course be signalled wide. So Scriven's still got 2 legitimate deliveries to bowl. 2 for 20 from his 3.4. Can he pick up one more? Can come out of the over, at least come out of the over strongly without conceding too many more, and then it would have been a really, really good spell. In he goes, bowls. Aldridge hits him up into the air, very straight, could be caught. No, Walker misjudged it.
The double whammy as well.
Walker misjudged it. He tried to commit to the catch. He didn't get there. He slid, but it bounced over his reaching hand and over the ropes. Had he just gone for the stop, he would unquestionably have stopped it. But he went all in, Roman Walker. He's got a wonderful pair of hands, as we've already seen, and on this occasion it was a misjudgment on the part of the Welshman. Scriven in again, hit back over his head, just chipped back over his head really by Aldridge, who thinks about a second, but there wasn't 1.5 there, let alone 2. And he is quickly sent back into his ground. But decent over. Scriven comes to an end, 2 for 25 from 4 overs. 1-2-7 for 6.
Very good.
15.
Very good 4-over stint there from Scriven, coming on straight after the power play, really tightening down the run rate, battening down the hatches, not allowing Durham to capitalise on what was a very good power play for them, and picked up those 2 wickets as well. And anytime you can go for under 30 in your 4 overs in a T20 game, you definitely take that. It's been a very good effort from him, one that should be in a winning cause as well. 67 off 30. Durham, they picked up a few runs in that over, but time is rapidly running out for the North East outfit. They need to get runs quickly.
Yeah, 15 off that over in the end.
Casey Aldridge is going to be the man tasked to do it. Matt Salisbury back into the attack. He starts his 3rd over the wicket. Aldridge with a big swing and an inside edge that he's very fortunate not to have his leg stump ripped out the ground. But it's a dot ball to start with for Salisbury. He bowled 2 overs first up, went for 11 in each of them, so 22 for him so far. Maybe just didn't quite get the line right. It is difficult, of course, bowling in the power play. You only have 2 fielders out. Any smidge of width or back of a length that's not quite in place, you're going to go as he's in and out. Aldridge hooks him away leg side, but there's a fielder out there. Will just be one very good effort out on the boundary. I think that might be
Travaskis with his left arm.
Indeed, Liam Travaskis out there. He'll be able to get the bragging rights back over his former teammates after they got one up on him last year.
That was some throw, considering all his momentum was sort of going the other way.
Going the wrong way for a left-hander. For a right-hander, it's perfect. But for him, it was going complete opposite way, and yet he still fizzed it in and kept Durham to 1. Rhodes, 13 off 10. Did wonder maybe that lower middle order for Durham, whether it was kind of set up for T20 hitting. Rhodes is going to flick this one away off his pads. He's going to pick up 4. Very fine. That man at square leg is very square, deep back of square. He's on that square side, so Rhodes just able to just tickle it down towards fine leg. And
there is a long leg Scriven, but even so, it's
still
just
pretty
so
square.
It's so quick.
Yeah, just needed a tickle on that from Rhodes. 17 now for him. Hadn't quite, I mean, to be honest, he's not had a good start to the season. Didn't quite get the runs he wanted. Couldn't get the wickets in the Red Bull side. Ended up losing out on his spot. That's high, back of a length from Salisbury, and Rhodes will pull that out on the bounce to mid wicket for 1. He'll move to 18. But yeah, hasn't quite have the fruits of the labour that people thought he was going to have when he made the move from Warwickshire. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise that he was leaving Warwickshire, and then it was announced he was coming to Durham, and everyone kind of looked around and go, Jesus, Durham have got a pretty good top 4-5 here. And then Ryan Campbell said, well, our top 4-5 is pretty set. We're looking to have him more down in that middle order. Maybe just struggling to adapt there. It looks like we're going to have change of gloves here for Casey Aldridge. Ben Cox going to stand up to the stumps again. Got George Rizal, sub-fielder for Durham. He's going to run something out for Rizal. But yeah, Rhodes hasn't quite had the start of the season he would have wanted. Casey Aldridge is indeed going to acquire some new timber. Has lost it. Will Rhodes, just finishing up, just lost his place in the Red Bull side to Graham Clark over the last few weeks, but he's looking to use this T20 competition as a springboard to get himself back into some form. Tell you what, if he can get Durham to a win from here, I think everyone in the North East will forgive him for the lack of output so far and be singing his praises, but that's a long way away. Casey Aldridge has his new bat. He's 20 off 12. Rhodes is 18 off the same amount of balls, and Leicestershire probably won't mind that little break, Rich. Just able to really confirm the plans that Matt Salisbury needs to come out of this over with.
Yeah, because that 15th over, yielding those 15 runs has made a little bit of a difference. Is it me or you? It was
I think it
still
was
you, wasn't it?
I think,
You
my bad. Dot ball.
had a ball. Salisbury
I
bowls.
wasn't expecting it to be that fast. I think there was still.
It was because of the delay. It felt like the end of the over, didn't it? But for the change of the bat. But
dot ball, no harm for Leicestershire. Salisbury, last ball of the third over for him. Durham, 133 for 6. He's in to Aldridge, who's swinging. They've got to push for 2 there. They've got to get the 1. They do. Will Rhodes, very quick turn. He will come back for 2. So Salisbury does well after that break. 2 balls, only goes for those 2 runs off the end, and it's just not enough as far as Durham are concerned. It's just they need boundaries, and as I've said constantly, Leicestershire won't mind coming out with singles and 2s. It's 135 for 6.
yeah, 8 off the over.
With just 4 overs left now.
We have, and 59, I should say, is still needed. So 60 or 4 overs,
I think
more or less.
Van Beek still got 2 overs. Walker's got 1 if Kimber wants to use him. Travaskis has 2. Kimber has 2 himself. Plenty of options for the Leicestershire captain to go. Looks like the way of the overseas here.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be surprised if Kimber bowled himself again. Might just squeeze 1 out of Travaskis, but I suspect it'll be seam in all the way from.
You just don't want to give Durham a sniff.
Nothing that'll float. Or they can get underneath. Well,
Don't
anyway.
want nothing to free the arms or anything.
So all change in the outfield. We've still got that old left-hand, right-hand combination Rob has been mentioning, and Van Beek is adjusting his field for the left-handed Will Rhodes. Short third, short fine leg. Although, having said that, there is now a third man. He's gone from sort of backward point to third man on the boundary in front of the electronic. In goes Van Beek and bowls a shocker down the leg side, and Rhodes sort of swings at it, but in a fairly half-hearted fashion, knowing it will, of course, be signalled wide.
He lined up as if it was going to be on his hips, and then saw it be massively outside. It's kind of like, oh, I'll just let that run by. That can sail on through for a wide.
Just gestured at it, really. Van Beek. 1 for 18 from his first 2. Stalks back to his top of his mark, turns, leans forward, gets into his run and bowls, and that one is whipped off the legs for 4 by Rhodes. Nicely played. Didn't really get up on him, but he was on the back foot. Obviously, it was a shortish delivery, and whipped it away very nicely indeed. And with Rishi Patel up on the edge of the circle, had no chance. And,
yeah, just fizzed straight past him.
Yeah, beginning to play his hand quite nicely here, Will Rhodes. 22 off 13. Got to keep it up, but with Aldridge 22 off 14, these two have just made a little bit of a difference. 112. What was the score? In fact, it was 94 for 6, wasn't it, when they came together? So
yeah, Ben Rain chipping that one up, and Jimmy Neesham going in quick succession.
Van Beek is in, clipped off his legs again. The full slower ball from Van Beek by Rhodes, down 2 long leg, but there is a long leg now in the person of Rishi Patel, and 1 rather than 4 is taken. Coming up to the 50 partnership then, 46, 47 these two have put on now for the 7th wicket in pretty decent time as well. 54 needed off 23 deliveries. Sorry, 53 needed off 22.
Liam Travaskis is going to come up and pack that offside field now for Casey Aldridge.
As Van Beek is in and bowls, Aldridge swats it very straight back down past him. Masood, who's got a wonderful pair of hands and is a very good fielder actually, considering he's into his 30s now. Quick across the ground.
That's what I mean, just so sharp onto it. There was no dilly-dallying, no hesitation, which is obviously what you expect from these guys as professionals, but even when Leicestershire looked to be relatively in control, relatively comfortable, still driving those standards in the field, making sure nothing slips through the net.
Van Beek into Rhodes, who swings him off. Well, it's an optimistic appeal for leg before, considering it didn't just pitch outside leg, it was going at least a foot down the leg side. But
what's the saying? You don't ask, you don't get.
Well, I don't know. Astonishing from Lagan, the New Zealander there, really. I mean, he knew it wasn't. Whether he's trying to sort of put the batsman off running or something, I have no idea. But
it's one of those ones you just put down to they know what they're doing and we don't.
Just got a little bit carried away, perhaps. In he goes to the right-handed Aldridge. Slower ball that is lofted nicely on one bounce. He saw it early enough for him to adjust his shot, step back and basically smack it almost sort of baseball style over extra cover, wide-ish extra cover, and it flew high and a long way, and it wasn't that far short of being 6 in the end for Aldridge. He moves on to 27, 147, and that is the 50 partnership. It has gone relatively unremarked, one has to say.
It almost felt like a premeditated shot there from Aldridge. Could see even before Van Beek released the ball, he'd taken that step back in order to give himself room to access that offside and picked up 4.
Van Beek is in, bowls to him. Fuller looking for the Yorker, steered by Aldridge out to the covers, and 1 is taken. 148 for 6, so 13 off the 17th over in the end. And these two certainly dragging Durham towards a respectable score. And that might matter at the end of it in terms of run rate, etc., but
exactly
it's not over yet.
At 94 for 6, you're thinking Durham could wilt here, and then that's a massive hit on net run rate if Leicestershire are able to pick up the win in with 7 or 8 overs to spare. But this Durham pair of Rhodes and Aldridge able to take it down to now about to enter the 18th over. It would take something absolutely remarkable, as Roman Walker's going to come into the attack for his final over, 3 overs, 1 for 37 for him. It would take something remarkable, unprecedented for Durham to win from this position, but they've certainly alleviated those fears. Walker in over the wicket to Aldridge. Slow ball Yorker he starts off with. Aldridge digs it out. At this point, you have to run 2s, even if you don't think 2s are there. There's got to be done. Aldridge will scamper through. He'll pick up a couple and move himself to 30.
44 off 17 balls. It's been done.
Exactly. It's not completely out the question as to maybe it was when Durham lost Jimmy Neesham. Walker again to Aldridge, looks to reverse loft scoop in a way, and there was a appeal for LBW from Walker, but I think again more out of hope than anything else, and Aldridge will scamper through or bring Rhodes on strike. I think leg by there.
It was signalled. Walker's running back to his mark. Leicestershire
worried about the cut-off.
They should be. It's only 6 minutes away.
That would allow Durham. Leicestershire would have to bring an extra fielder in.
It isn't much of a punishment these days.
I agree. Slow Yorker again. Rhodes waits for it, digs it out into extra cover, but a good sliding stop from the skipper Kimber will mean they can only come through 4-1. Rhodes gesturing to his partner exactly what that was, and I think a slight nod of acknowledgement from Aldridge. 30 off 19 he has. Rhodes 24 off 16. Rishi Patel is going to move his bright orange boots down to long leg, and long off is going to come up onto the discs as Walker halfway through his final over. Aldridge takes a step leg side. It's got to be a push for 2 here. Rhodes is quick, he'll come back, and he will. Throw comes at Aldridge's end, but it's another couple for the Somerset low knee. 32 now for him. Bit of Friday night karaoke, Rich?
No. Not participating, I don't mind.
2 balls left for Walker. He's in over the wicket. Aldridge gets all of that. A reverse standing scoop for 6.
Obviously
judging by the reaction, definitely a crowd catch. Aldridge 38 off 21, and Durham 34 now from 34 from 13. Leicestershire had this all sewn up about 4 or 5 overs ago. They are still firmly in the driving seat. Let's establish that. Aldridge went for that shot earlier in the over, did not get it. Goes for it here, gets it. Walker's 1 ball left. 1 for 48 for him. Can Aldridge get out of this with a boundary? Can Walker stop it? Over the wicket again. Slower ball into the pitch, down the track comes Aldridge. Maybe he's trying to take control of the situation. 12 balls left. That's just a single. Aldridge on strike. 39 off 22. Rhodes 24 off 16. Durham looking to pull off a remarkable heist against the Foxes on this Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, even with that 6, it was still 13 off the over, just 13 when needed 16. So a really good attempt, and it's kept them just about in with a slight sniff. 33 needed off 2 overs, off 12 balls, and the first of those 12 balls will be bowled by Logan van Beek from the pavilion end to Casey Aldridge. Van Beek, the New Zealander, is in, bowls a Yorker, backing away. Aldridge works it down towards long on. Shan Masood quickly in, throws on the bounce to Cox, and it is just 1. 32 off 11. It's going to be closer than I think quite a few people thought it was going to be at 94 for 6. They have made it more than respectable, these two, and they have power to add yet. Van Beek will be bowling to Will Rhodes now. Everybody out on the leg side, on the boundary. In goes Van Beek and bowls, and he whips it down to the leg side. Almost caught by Travaskis. All he can do, though, is knock it over the bar for 6 more. Well, it was a beautiful pick-up by Rhodes. Super piece of timing. Right there on the backward square boundary, Travaskis leapt to his left. He got 2 hands to it, but he was kind of almost diving backwards as well. Knocked it up into the air, but as I say, it was only like a goalkeeper knocking it over the bar, 2-handed, and Rhodes moves on to 30 off 17, 26 off 10. Well now, Van Beek is in, bowls down the leg side. That'll be signalled wide, so make that 25 off 10.
It's one thing I always say to people about a Ryan Campbell side is never say never. This side does not know when they're beaten. They have that mentality since he's joined the club of they don't know when they're beaten. There's been a few one-wicket wins, last day wins that they've had in the county championship, in the 4-day stuff. They won't mind this situation.
Van Beek in, Rhodes hits him high and long for 6 more. It was in the slot, and it was a huge blow from Will Rhodes, miles over long on, no chance at all for Roman Walker. So we have had 3 legitimate deliveries of this over, and it has yielded 14 runs to the Durham cause. 19 needed off 9. Suddenly, Struth, they can't, can they?
Surely not.
They can, you know. In goes Van Beek, bowls, slower ball, pulled around the corner, bottom edge. He's going to turn for the second and will make it. He'll make it. Travaskis throws, hits the stumps and appeal for a run out, but no, he had made his ground. Rhodes picks up to 17 off 8.
Smart cricket. Had the 2 boundaries, didn't need to go chasing one. We saw Graham Clark earlier maybe chasing that 3rd boundary in the over, but noticing, as you say, Rich, everyone on that leg side, there is no one that is in stopping the 1s or the 2s. So it was fired leg side from Van Beek, as actually get eerily close to that cut-off. He was able to drop it, and even though it didn't really make it further than the discs, Rhodes and Aldridge, that understanding able to get to Rhodes, 38 from 19.
What's exercising umpire Bailey?
I think they've just reached the cut-off. So I think
there's one more. Yeah, they have. We've reached the cut-off. So, right, that means that Louis Kimber is going to have to bring in 1 more fielder.
Surely you have to sacrifice the man at deep point.
And it's going to be fine leg come up to the edge of the circle.
I'd have thought with Will Rhodes and having that short boundary for potentially might try and keep the strike for the rest of this over. As Van Beek is now trying to overrule his captain. Maybe I think he's signalling for backward point to come in.
Well, now they can take all the time they want, I suppose.
Yes. This is where maybe you need a secondary cut-off if teams are going to...
Another minute. All right, well, we'll bring in another field.
Now we can take 20 minutes to finish this off. Eventually, deep point will come in.
And long off will go back.
Yeah,
so Masood goes back from mid-off on the edge of the circle to long off. 17 off 8 is the equation. Van Beek is into Rhodes. He hits him on the pads. It will be a dot ball because it went down the leg side, but it clipped the pads and it ran down to Cox. So that is a real result for Van Beek and for the Foxes. A dot ball at this stage means 17 off 7.
It's priceless. It's absolutely priceless for the Foxes.
Still 16 off the over so far, though.
He's got 2 balls left. He's got it. We
One
mentioned it.
One ball.
1 ball left. We mentioned he's got to come out of this without a boundary earlier. You've got to come out with it without a boundary for Foxes.
Van Beek is in bowl, slower ball that is whipped down to fine leg for 4. It's gone down to 4 with Rishi Patel up on the edge of the circle. So well, the Uptonsteel ground has gone very, very quiet, because 181 means 20 off the over, and suddenly there is nothing in this. This is 50-50, folks, because Durham need just 13 off the last over. Will Rhodes has 42, Casey Aldridge has 40, and are they going to pull off one of the greatest heists ever seen at the Uptonsteel County Ground, Grace Road? From 94 for 6 at the end of the 12th over. Are Durham going to pull off something truly extraordinary here? Who's going to bowl the last over? It looks like the former Durham man. Of course, it's the former Durham man.
Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? He's got a meeting right now with Louis Kimber and looks like Sean Masood. As we pointed out last over, Leicestershire have now gone past the cut-off, so they only allowed 4 out on the boundary. Casey Aldridge on strike, 40 from 23. Rhodes 42 off 21 at the other end. Who's out? 2 men out on the, 3 men out leg side. You've got long on, deep mid wicket and deep backward square. Where is the final man? Deep point is the final man on the fence. Matt Salisbury over the wicket to Casey Aldridge. 6 balls left. And after all that, we'll have a full start.
Sort of looking back, Salisbury there, whether he was just a little bit of a warning, but
one of the discs has now just flown up.
Okay.
I don't think that would have caused him. I
don't think Rhodes was sort of over backing up or anything. So
maybe Aldridge had spotted something behind the bowler's arm. But take 2. 6 balls, 6 legitimate deliveries left. Durham trying to pull off a heist. Matt Salisbury over the wicket. Aldridge down the wicket. It's a dot ball. Rhodes had backed up and potentially you could have scrambled for a single. You're risking the run out, but I don't know, maybe that's a risk you had to take, trying to make that run. I know Ben Cox is very good with the gloves behind the stumps. He's been brilliant tonight. But I don't know, maybe you just have to take that chance.
13 off 5.
Salisbury again over the wicket to Aldridge. Down the track, he gets it, but it's going to run into that leg side. It's going to be 2. Oh, almost are coming together between the fielder at deep mid-wicket and long on. It will be 2. Aldridge 42 now becomes 11 off 4.
Yes, Travaskis sort of got ahead of Kimber there, but that could easily have been something horrible as far as the Foxes were concerned, but he made the stop in the end.
It's got to be, you've got to try tuck him up for him. Everyone again back out on that leg side for Aldridge. You've got to try tuck him up for room here if you're Matt Salisbury. You can't give him any width on the offside, otherwise you're asking for a boundary. What does he have? Over the wicket. Gives him that width. It's through to extra cover, but it's a brilliant diving stop. It will just be 1.
But he should have stopped it, but he did.
Sean Masood had already anticipated him potentially bursting through, but it does end up with only a single, and the field will now change for Will Rhodes. 10 off 3.
3 really good deliveries from Matt Salisbury, in fairness.
Yeah, it's been very good first half of this final over. It's not done yet. He has to keep his head, keep his calm. Will Rhodes has just found his touch here for his new county. 42 off 21. Durham 94 for 6. They were out of it. A partnership of 90 has dragged them back in. Salisbury over the wicket to Rhodes. Pulls it leg side. It's going to have to be another 2. Aldridge will get back at the non-striker's end. It's thrown to the keeper's end. And it's going to be a run out. They had to go for 2. The Uptonsteel County Ground absolutely erupts as the square leg umpire raises his finger. Will Rhodes, it had to be a 2. You could not have a 1. Aldridge was always going to get back. Rhodes having to wait to get out of his shot, was slightly behind in his run, turned at the non-striker's end. It was a good throw in from the deep, straight to Ben Cox, who placed himself really well, almost in front of the stumps. Took the throw on the full and dismissed the timber. So Durham will pick up 185, but most importantly, Will Rhodes, who was a set batter, is gone. It will be Zach Fulks to walk out to the middle. Durham need a hero. Can their overseas provide it? He's been brilliant with the ball so far. He has 2 balls to prove himself to be a hero with the bat. If he can go 6-4,
that's what he needs, or 4-6.
Those are the combinations for Durham to win.
That's it, folks. That's all.
9 off 2 is the equation. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, Rhodes' innings there shouldn't be underestimated. They walked off disappointed, but it was a magnificent partnership with Aldridge to drag Durham into this game.
Exactly that. He's dragged Durham from absolutely no chance of winning this game to giving them a legitimate chance in the final over. Zach Fulks, again, everyone is out on the leg side, just deep point. Matt Salisbury, 2 balls left. This is the first one over the wicket to Fulks, who looks to hoik it. They will scamper through for a leg by, and will be that. Leicestershire are 1 ball away, 1 legitimate delivery away from Matt Salisbury from picking up a win that looked pretty comfortable about half an hour, 45 minutes ago, Rich Ray, but Casey Aldridge and Will Rhodes have made them sweat.
You never know in this game, and time at the crease from the worst possible situation. You can score your runs so quickly at the end. It looks like it's just now too late. Well, it is too late for Durham, but magnificent effort from Rhodes and Aldridge to get them as close as they have. Well bowled, Matt Salisbury. We should also give Logan Van Beek a shout out for the throw that saw the end of Will Rhodes. He didn't lose his head. Made sure he hit it into the gloves of Cox.
Final ball of the game. Casey Aldridge on 43. It hits back past Matt Salisbury. Shan Masood does the fielding on the ring. They will jog through for a single, and Leicestershire will claim another victory on this Friday night in the Vitality T20 Blast here at Uptonsteel County Ground. Durham won the toss. They put the hosts into bat. Alex Lees trying to make best use of that green on the wicket. Leicestershire got off to a frantic start. Zach Fulks picked up an early wicket though. Sol Budinger went first ball, but Leicestershire really raced on through the power play. 65 for 2. Consistently, where this game was probably won, Rich, in that middle overs, Leicestershire found the boundary in those middle overs. They constantly found the rope, able to tick that scoreboard over, get them to 193. Durham 194 for them to win. A good start, but Alex Lees and Graham Clark opening up the batting. Graham Clark just looked like he was getting going and then gone. And just from there on in, Con Ackerman came and went. It was just a steady flow of wickets for the home side. And Rich Ray, Leicestershire Foxes, after Will Rhodes and Casey Aldridge put them under a bit of pressure, they got home.
They did. They got across the line. Thank you, Rob. And Connor down there on the outfield, a relieved Uptonsteel County Ground as much as anything. Got hairy, didn't it? It got hairy, it really did. It grabbed him maybe as he walks off, because I'm sure his heart was beating pretty quickly, but the Foxes got across the line as they've shown the ability to do that. There's a lot of smiles out there as they come walking off, but you know, it was magnificent. It was the over 6 to 12 made such a difference when 36 for 4, I think it was in the end. That made the difference. Tom Scriven's bowling was huge. They were probably a few short runs wise, batting wise. We felt they needed to get past 200, maybe 205, 210, something like that. But well, sign of a good side, I think, that they can still get across the line after well, getting very close to losing it.
Congratulations, another home win. You must be delighted.
Yeah, no, the lads put on an awesome display tonight. You know, getting after the pitch played really well. To get 198 or whatever you know, was awesome effort.
Yeah. It would have been a real blow to have lost the game from such a dominant position, really. You know, it was won, really, 94 for 6 Durham after 12. You know, in every way, they were a long way behind. So, you know, for it to have gotten as close as it is, that is a little bit concerning. But remember, they are missing one or two sort of key players, particularly obviously Rehan Ahmed. So fingers crossed, once he comes back, he's so hard to get away that it'll make a difference when he comes back.
You're back here on Sunday, but it's a good start. I know there's a long way to go and all that, but good starts at home.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot of confidence in the lads, in the group, and hopefully we can keep this momentum moving forward. Yeah, everyone, thank you for coming out tonight and showing us support. We really appreciate it.
Not necessarily too mature in the way it went, but I see you've got the captain with you now, so let's see what he has to say about it.
The signing continues in the pavilion, and if you want anything signed, autographs or pictures with the players, then head down. The management are delighted, the players are overjoyed, and the fans go home with a smile on their face. Come back on Sunday for the double header against Worcestershire to celebrate